Alrighty, friends. It's gonna be hot today. Get your toes on, folks. That's the sound of toes getting put on. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. It's gonna be a fun day. We are, it's time for some gossip. Gossip and drama, whispers and murmurs, all the good things. Welcome in, everybody. How you doing? Good to see you. Twitch is hot and popping today. You guys are... I love your joy for that song. I really freaking love that song. I'm glad you guys enjoy it so much. How you doing? Good to see you, Zero. I saw you popped in here first. Very much the first on Twitch today. Good to see you, brother. Vassin. Getting the jig on, doing the dancing. New Soul. New Soul with the actual sounds. Welcome in, buddy. Can we get a... Do we got any mods in the chat? Of course we got mods in the chat. Vassin's right there. Can we get a shout out for New Soul, please? Thank you. Appreciate you. Welcome in, folks. Brigadier Bo, my man. Spore. Good to see you, dude. You guys are... Jesus, those emotes are insane. Absolutely nuts. Mrs. Tomatoes knocked them out of the park with those. Maverick. Hello, dude. How you doing, Blackish? Echo's in chat, too. Hey. Twitch is held down. It's solid. Is this a Justice Genesis version? It's definitely got Justice feelings to it, doesn't it? Yeah, I like it. Hold on. Y'all are spawning some fun old sounds and I don't have my sounds plugged in. I want to hear the fun sounds. Grunt birthday party noises. Come on. Oh, I see Mrs. Tomato driving up right now. She's bringing our niece. Dora's probably going to make an appearance today. Colt Kimber. Hello, dude. Good to see you. Welcome in. Believed Cone. I got you. Welcome in, first timer. Bo Deadly. Good to see you. Welcome. PK, Mr. PK Payback Peregrine. Yo, somebody do some biddies? Maverick, of course. 2 bits. Damn biddies. Thank you, dude. Reese on YouTube. Keeping the mod game safe. Shifty, good to see you, dude. Another Mike, welcome in. Slayer, Jaybird, Balian, Baltzen. Unloading Whale. Unloading in the chat. Jock Hop, Flopalore. Hey, everybody. Scott Bennett, Sir Rebel, Paul. Dead Leader, dude. 07's dead. How you doing, man? Good to see you in chat. Kildalsk. Kilda-isk. Whichever one that might be. Iron Wolf, Chala. Hello, everybody. YouTube holding it down as well. Good to see you all. Folks, we've got a good show today. I have been waiting for this for some time now. I've been wanting to do a CitizenCon predictions video on the main channel. But I was like, why not just wait until the panels? We could talk about it. We could speculate on chat. We could put out a deep dive, whatever it might be. But I really wanted to wait until they put the panel schedule out for us to get real in depth with what we are really thinking is going to be there. And obviously now that they've announced it, it makes more sense to think certain things. So thank you. Call it cheating. Call it getting ahead of the game. Call it whatever you may. Today we are going deep into depth. All the deepness of the depths.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Into the Star Citizen CitizenCon schedule of the panels. So we'll be pulling up references. We'll be looking at the some of the old stuff that has been shown in ISC and talked about in SCL over the last year. We'll be checking out last year's CitizenCon, and we'll be sharing our own theories of what might be showing up in some of these panels. So I want to hear what you guys think too. Drop your thoughts in the chat. I'll try to catch them all if I can.
Thank you very much.
And we got Reese over here getting us started off with 5 gifted memberships on YouTube, folks. I talk about it all the time. I just released another exclusive for our supporters, and you don't even have to be a supporter to see them. You could just be gifted a membership by one of our supporters, like Reese just did. Hey, Pickle. Hi. Here she is. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Hi. Say hello. She's coming from school. She got me baklava? Aw. Teşekkürler, Dora. She's great. Someday she's gonna be a streamer, I'm sure of it. Now she watches some other people on stream. Like there's this like kid and his dad who do gaming streams, so it's I wonder what it's like for her to step onto a stream and be like, huh, so this is what the other side of it looks like. I promise sometimes we're more professional. She doesn't care. You grow pickles in the garden? Yes, we do, but she's the only one. The soul pickle. Your wallet is ready, Hilk. Well, luckily it's not CitizenCon 2018, so everybody is free to watch all the CitizenCon they want without paying. Just to call out the bad moves when we see them. Hope you're doing well, excited for the stream. Bystander, so am I. I'm quite excited for this stream. You predict that CIG will be talking about things, and if we are lucky, stuff. I think we might get some stuff here. I'm thinking the biggest of stuff that we're gonna get is gonna be this over here. But we're gonna get to that. That's, I guess, kind of the grand finale. We'll talk about that here soon-ish. We're gonna start with Brave New Worlds and what might be coming from some of the stuff they're talking about, which in what really looks like, in fact, let's pull up last year's schedule. CitizenCon 2023 schedule. Because even though they have different names and different sort of explanations for each of the panels every year, they still kind of match each other. So we can match these up right now, in fact. Just before we get started here. Shaping the Verse, the Future of StarEngine. That was their engine deep dive. You can even go back to CitizenCon, I believe it was 2021. Do we have a 2021 schedule? Was there one? We could just go to their channel. And I'm sure they have a playlist for CitizenCon 20... Yeah, here it is. So, every year, you can draw kind of a parallel between the different panels. CitizenCon 2951, Gen 12, and the multi-core of Vulcan. They actually kind of split it up into two. So they did a Gen 12 Vulcan show, and they also did a server meshing and persistence show. These two combined was basically the engine panel for 2021. And you jump forward to 2022, or 23, and you've got Shaping the Verse, the Future of StarEngine. That was their engine panel. And you jump forward to 2024, which is this year. Brave New Worlds is going to be their engine panel. Obviously, it's the only one that mentions StarEngine, but it's also their planetary tech demo. It sounds like they're not really going as deep into some of the other tech of their engine this year. They did a big deep dive last year. Still haven't even delivered a lot of that stuff from last year, so they don't need to worry as much about giving us updates on that. But Planet Tech V5 is a pretty big deal. And I'm going to pull up one more resource here. Starchives, good old Starchives. Hey, thank you for the bits, Colt. I appreciate you, dude. The biddies go far, the biddies go far. Planet Tech. Let's see if that pulls up anything. We fixed the table. That's the big announcement. You're most hyped to finally get into the seat of your Zeus and possibly get your galaxy a step closer. We'll see what they say about the galaxy. That will come up today. Sorry. Let's see. So, gosh, it's not here. Sometimes this doesn't quite pick up everything that it should, Starchives. But we can jump back and see if we can find it ourselves. You used to date a Turkish girl and your pet name for her was Lokum. Lokumum. That is a popular, yeah. Lokumum, Tatlum, Aşkım. Aşkım is pretty straightforward. Bir Tatlum, very popular one. Maymun. My wife can't call me that, but I call her that all the time. You predict they're going to announce a bunch of big ships no one needs. They're going to promise a bunch of fixes they won't deliver. And Pyro 2026. Let's see. Let's put that to the test, shall we? Let us go back to last year's and see. Who is that? Your name's like brown on blue. That's not great. Saint Vega. Let's see where you might be getting that. Let's go back to their ship panel last year and see how many big ships that nobody needed they announced. So the Spirit series came into the game. That obviously, it's already in the game.
So that,
Mid-purpose ship, I think it's pretty useful. I don't know. I think the mid-purpose ships are probably the most important thing they can put in. Other ship they announced was the Zeus.
really crank up the level of
What would you guys, how would you guys say that the Zeus is a ship that makes sense for the game? To be honest, I think that 2 to 3 person ships are the ones they should focus on. Because that's like gotta be the most common way that people will play the game, right? You might, like, you're not gonna get in and have like 15 people ready to jump in at any one time, but having another person to join you or playing solo makes sense for a ship of this size. I think this announcement made sense. I'm just glad that they delivered it. The other ship they announced was the Cutter Scout, which is a starter ship. So not a really big ship. And then besides that, they announced, let's see, they talked about the Banu Merchantman, which was a waste of time. And they revealed some teasers of ships. Actually, we haven't even gotten this one yet. The Legionnaire. But they didn't announce any other ships. They only announced 2 ships last year. One was a starter and one was a mid-range ship. So I don't know where you're getting that they're going to announce some big ships that nobody needs. But I do think they will announce some ships. Makes the most sense since there is a ships panel. We'll have to see how useful they are, though. And again, last year they did have their ship panel as well. So they always drop back to that same sort of standard. With the current state of gameplay, that's the ideal ship right now. Solo or a few fellas, yeah. Hard to say yes for Zeus when the Connie exists. Whoa. You consider the Zeus and Connie competitors. You think the Bounty Hunter one will, but you don't think the other 2 add much because we have ships that cover those roles. But shouldn't we have more ships than that? Like, I don't know. I believe in overlap of ships. Having a good mid-sized ship that's only available from 1 or 2 companies seems a little restrictive for a game that focuses so much on ships. But I hear you. There are other ships that are kind of like that. Spectrum kind of hate multi-crew anything. Yo, somebody the other day said on my video that CIG was taking a bad turn with the engineering stuff to multi-crew. And I'm like, brother, do you know what this game's about? you maybe, and you know, in their defense, CIG doesn't really say much about that stuff, which is why it's good that we're getting this panel this year. But like, that's not like a big change for this game. If they keep the game very sandboxy after 1.0, then there's something to be said for aesthetics over pure function, and you'd say Zeus is pretty. I'm hoping that they add affinities to NPCs, so they prefer certain types of ships for things like personnel transport. That rewards the people who have nicer ships in the case of somebody who might be a nicer passenger, like a CEO or something. Yeah, I'm thinking the stuff that they're looking at announcing is going to be, well, base building, as they said already. Do I think we'll get the RSI Galaxy or Misk Odyssey at CitizenCon this year? I don't. No. Zeus's appeal is 90% aesthetic, 10% function. Those 3 entrances to the ship disagree with you, sir. Competing against the Cutlass. Yeah, I was thinking Cutlass, Freelancer, C1. We don't need everyone flying the same ship in each playstyle. I agree there. They haven't answered the why of this game yet. That's what this is. Over here. which is much needed. My brother in Christ, my brother under the sun. Hello, gaming vibrations. Corsair change got you fuming. Already a multi-crew ship, so they create a useless role that can't be used at the same time as a turret. They do need to figure out how to, like, not have the seat mean two different roles. We're going to talk about this. This is going to be a big stick in the face for just about all of us, in some regard. Good morning, Matt Sully. Ford, Buick, GMC, Toyota, and Chevy all make pickup trucks that are nearly carbon copies of each other and different trucks that are similar in size. Dude, don't even get me started about smartphones. If I just like whip my phone out on the camera real quick like that, can you even tell what it is? Ha ha ha! What phone is this? They all look this freaking same. You don't know which of the panels could include professions that you've been waiting on: bounty hunting, data running, and exploration. To be honest, I don't think we're going to get good gameplay details about any professions in this schedule. Maybe we'll hear some stuff in Social Universe and possibly, you know, more in 1.0. But I don't know if we'll get specific stuff about professions here. Hope they aren't going to announce something cool bigger than the galaxy. I don't know. Expect a lot of folks to be angry and disagree about what 1.0 should be. Oh, I do. I already get that anger on a daily basis in my comments. There's a thing. So the way that YouTube works is like it'll pop up YouTube Studio on your screen, on your phone screen. And the first thing you see is like your stats. And then you see like some of your videos and stuff, and it shows you your most recent videos. And then if you scroll down, it shows the latest comments. You can't really see because the phone screen is so bright. But it shows your latest comments like right at the bottom of the screen. And I swear it's just bait. Like, it's... I try not to scroll down because I get dragged into the comments so easily. And it's different than how YouTube displays them publicly. It shows you your most recent ones. So that means it's anything that's been commented on your videos. Whereas YouTube's public version shows you the ones that get the most upvotes or the most interactions, which generally are less extreme. So when I scroll down there and I see the most extreme comments, and I get pulled into the engagement like a sucker. And yeah, no, I fully know that people will be all kinds of angry by the end of CitizenCon, but the most important thing that this game needs right now, the most freaking important thing this game needs is an explanation of what the heck people should expect from it. And there are so many people who don't have that explanation and have never heard one. And it's important that CIG puts that out there, not just so that people know and understand what the game's going to be, but also so that when they do things, when they change things like engineering, cargo management, bounty hunting, death and respawning, logging on and off, how scanning works, why ships get nerfed, all that kind of stuff, you have some context to be like, oh, okay, all right, I see you. It's stupid, but I fucking see you, CIG. Yeah. Instead of everybody just like mouthing off at each other about what's right or wrong. We do that a lot. And I'm kind of over it. Although it'll never stop. Cheers to you guys. No matter what the video is about, there are comments about it. Oh, master modes. Zach Priest also went nuts on Twitter and said all CitizenCons combined will have nothing on this one. I think when he said that, I just want to confirm. I'm pretty sure he said that about gameplay stuff, though, which I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. I feel like the only reason CitizenCons have been getting better over the years is because they've actually had more... there we go. They've had more... Let's see. Multiply all the other CitizenCons together. Maybe an ad. Maybe not multiply. What's CitizenCon 2016 times CitizenCon 2017? Bad news. They ain't got anything on this one. It's actually gonna be insane for my gameplay enjoyers. So it's from a gameplay perspective, I could understand it. I could totally see it being bigger than all of the other ones combined because most of the other CitizenCons didn't really have much gameplay to show off. Maybe just the last couple. But it is interesting because as far as gameplay goes, it seems like the most gameplay heavy parts of the schedule are right here. Crafting and base building. Although Social Universe could be a sleeper. And when I say sleeper, I don't mean sleeper because it's kind of posed to be pretty important. Hopefully this CitizenCon does not virtual signal devs advertising to the world what they put in their butts. Man, I hope that everybody is on the stage, throwing rainbows around, doing anal, just so that you get pissed off about it. I would love that. Like, it's so easy to just ignore that kind of stuff. But for some people, it gets to you for a whole 358 days. Rainbows! For no other reason than just to piss people off. I'm down. They're gonna have 27 sandworms this time? Hell yeah, dude. Sandworms and rainbows, I like it. The gameplay was missing, so adding it is a good idea. It's a good call. It is a good call. You know what I learned in school? Jesus loves rainbows. God gave us rainbows to let us know that he wasn't going to kill our asses again. So, you know, we should be happy about them. All right. Let's jump into CitizenCon, what it might bring. So this first panel, Brave New Worlds, is kind of our engine deep dive. And it's actually pretty easy to know kind of what direction they're going to go in with this. We can just go to last year's CitizenCon where they already talked about engines and planet stuff for engines. I don't even have to do the talking for this part, right? Essentially, okay. For the video watching segments, we're going to use my other browser, which doesn't get ads. What's interesting about this is their Planet Tech has made such huge leaps that they haven't really talked to us about. So before we jump into last year's stuff, let's take a look at, what is it called? Star Citizen Around the Verse. Swoons and Moons? Carrick Swoons and Moons, I think it was. Beautiful and Habulous. Is that it? Yeah, this might be it. Let's check it out. Lighting, drop-off lockers, motion warping. No. No, this is not it.
Of Lyria.
I swear it was like Carrick Moons, Carrick Swoons, and something Moons. Carrick News, Arcorp Views. Is that it? It was a really good episode where they talked about their Planet Tech development, and it put into perspective kind of how much performance, how much better they were making their tools to build this stuff. It's on the top. I don't see it. No, this is Kung Lee's Moons and Carrick Swoons. So why doesn't, man, CIG, you guys got to work on your SEO. Moons and Carrick Swoons. Oh, it wasn't around the verse, it was inside Star Citizen. Maybe that's why. I went a little bit too far back in time. There it is. Okay. So I believe this is where they kind of talk about the progress they were making on Planet Tech back then.
And arrange them in a different manner and then give them an entirely different look. creating new assets for these moons. You have to see what's there, what can I do, what can I make with it, how can I reuse it, how can I make it, how can I use two old things and make one new thing out of it, basically.
One of the major reasons why we went for V4 is to increase quality. We don't want to make moons faster but reduce quality. We actually want to raise both of them. If I think back to how long Lyria took us, it was 2 people for 1 month straight. But Pascal, for example, in not even a month is taking on 2 moons. I'm taking on 1 moon. So it is definitely a lot faster.
So that was in the space of like a couple of, I think that was over from the moons of R-Corp to the moons of Microtech that they made that kind of progress. And then since then, we've seen a lot of different improvements. Will the Water Guy did a lot of the river stuff over time. We saw height maps get updated a lot more. We saw clouds eventually come into the game, and now clouds are looking a lot better. I'm thinking what we're going to see now is something to start. I think we'll see something that's a little bit more similar to this when it comes to clouds. I'm hoping that this is going to be somewhere where we see some dynamic weather and get a real actual conversation about dynamic weather in this game, about storms, precipitation, and just better, like, well, this.
Strikes in the clouds, but yeah, very, very pretty looking. So this is the first time we're actually seeing clouds above a terrestrial planet. You know, we went through quite a few iterations of forms. What we ultimately ended upon was something that felt quite dramatic, still believable in terms of how the wind would have shaped them. But yeah, like it's showcasing a lot of the more recent tech that came online. Also, what we're seeing here is like some kind of distant thunder strikes. And what this is, it's kind of like a prelude to, you know, future weather features that will be coming on board, you know, and how.
What's future mean, man?
This will tie into, you know, storms and ship handling, you know, due to the turbulence. And it's great seeing the, you know, the rain hit the canopy glass here, you know, when you go through these cloud banks. Also, as part of the process of shaping, one of the things we really wanted to do is create these kind of like these pockets in between the clouds. So you're in these cavities. So as you're flying through, you get glimpse of the terrain beneath.
So this
you.
is actually something that's already been in there, is these double layers of clouds. And I see the comments in chat that we don't necessarily need this. This isn't important for a release. This whole panel isn't really going to be something that this game hinges on. When it, dang it, I lost it. This isn't really something that the whole game hinges on when it comes to getting Star Citizen out. But this is like the Planet Tech team is still working. They're still doing their stuff, and they're going to present their stuff when they can. And generally, I don't think they've had a really big update for us in a while. We've seen little things. Last year, we saw a lot of water updates. And like what was going on with that.
They were currently using a technique called deferred shading, which is really fast and fantastic for opaque objects, but does not translate well for transparent ones, which of course water is. So the first step that we made was to transition to forward shading. That allowed us to introduce more physically based textures.
Just a huge update on water, which it's cool. I mean, you know, I think this is something that they generally wanted to have in for Squadron 42. And I still remember back in CitizenCon 20, I think it was 2016 or 2017, when they were flying over Hurston. I'll just give you guys a quick look at that, because that is... Ooh. Looked a lot different back then. Let's see, it's probably towards the end was the demo. Yeah. So you can actually find the literal spot where Chris was like, yep, someday we're going to have wakes behind the ships as they fly over water. Let me tell you. And you're like, okay, Chris, okay, let's get you back to bed. But here we are 7 years later, and they did. And I'm wondering how much he was just like, guys, I said it in 2017, just make it happen.
The German engine team that does all the procedural planning stuff is been adding obviously a lot of stuff to the procedural planet tech. The oceans have all been ported over to GPU, and ultimately we're not doing it here, but you know, there actually has, if we get low enough, you'll probably see it's full wave simulation. When we get low enough, we want to have the thing where the wake from the ship creates waves. That's not in yet, but we will be doing that at some point.
Yeah, everybody, it's gonna be 7 years. If you told people it was gonna be 7 years, they'd be like, "Oh, what?" So yeah, we did that. We did all that stuff. But let's jump ahead to the actual planet tech. The ways they're not only gonna make planets better, but actually some of the things that they're doing for these planet developments is going to make the game run better. It's going to be less CPU load, more GPU rendering, and more machine learning to make the actual development faster of these.
Based on the local conditions, we're able to do more advanced decision making. Next thing we want to look at, which is probably the thing we get asked about the most, is our scattering system, which is what's responsible for putting all the trees and the rocks down in the world. We're going to, again, move this to 100% to the GPU, and that should let us have vastly longer draw distances right up until the horizon, and much better performance. So we'll finally get rid of the dreaded pop of trees coming in for you. We also have to integrate it with our harvestable system, the resource system, and the awesome fire system you just saw a minute ago.
Yo, Corbin and Harriban, thank you both so much for the Prime subs.
What that means is we'll be able to use nearby vegetation or rocks to influence what other vegetation and rocks can grow or will show up. And this lets us produce much more complicated rule sets, so we can do things like...
Thank you very much.
Maybe underneath it doesn't have any grass, or maybe certain trees come together in clumps. And we'll get a much more natural distribution of vegetation. And final thing we want for planets is we want to be able to build them much easier, much faster, and we want to make sure they are truly unique. At the moment, our planets
Thank you very much.
However, they are built from type of tile sets, like pre-built things that get mixed and matched together and blended in complicated ways so that you don't see the repetition. But it's not truly unique, not in the same way that the Grand Canyon might be, or the River Nile, or Mount Everest. And that's what we want. So to get that, we need to replicate the complicated natural processes on Earth, like geology, climate, erosion, and these things aren't trivial. So we've got 3 options. We've got offline tools, Houdini, Terragen, things like this. We could simulate all these processes in the engine. But we've started some R&D a few months ago on whether we can use machine learning to do some of this. So just to give you a quick idea of how that would work, or how it could work, if you just start with some random input here, it's just like some noise. We run it through a temporary simulation, so we can type of get a more reasonable approximation of simulation at different altitudes and latitudes on Earth. And then what we do is we categorize all this into different biomes. So based on the temperature and moisture, you find out what is a desert, what is a forest. And this part is crucial. So this is the input for our machine learning algorithm. We could come up with this image any other way. You could hand paint it as an artist, or we could just randomize the noise to get a different set of images. And then what we do is we take the large data sets we already have from Earth, from Mars, and from the Moon, and we train it on exactly the same distribution.
Thank you very much.
Grasslands and things like this. And by training it on exactly the type of data we get in reality, we can take this and push just that, and then we can get these lovely height maps out of it that tell us a really realistic distribution. You can see here, this is a height map. So
y'all just started a hype train while I wasn't even talking? Hey. Thank you guys. Zero Reese came in with the gifted subs. We got Prime subs in there, sticking it to Bezos. I see you. Appreciate you. And PK dropped 5 more gifted subs. Oh, thank you. Wow. Wow, that was a really well-timed wow. Who said that? Eriso, good job. I just got baklava delivered up in here. That's a big old wow. No, thank you guys for getting that hype train started on Twitch.
The black areas are low. You can see all the little rivers and valleys. And this had 0 art input, aside from this image, which is a very nice result. It's early days. This is based on something called a custom diffusion neural network.
Early days.
It's, like I said, it's pre-trained on Earth data, and it's been built up in patches so that it just doesn't become too expensive to build. And the little circular patches get added together, and to avoid any seams in the image. And just to help you visualize it, I've just put some colorization on it to show you where snow and beaches might be. And
yeah, it looks a lot better.
The planet to give you a better sense so it doesn't look quite so abstract. Yeah, but this is very early days, this stuff, but we're hopeful this will be helping the future of how we build planets quickly and efficiently.
So What I think is the most important part of this is that because they're training it on specifically Earth data, I think that this is going to give them the ability to get beyond just plopping rivers down in places and caves and stuff, and make it so that when they make a planet, and if they want to just click, 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 make a planet out of nowhere, it actually creates a believable planet, a planet that has rivers coming from specific places and driving mountain ranges that makes sense based on how the river has run, or making rock arches in biomes where it might make more sense that wind has had the time to do that kind of thing. I think this adds more believability to planets beyond just having procedural generation. But, you know, we only know as much as they're saying here. So the description of the actual panel is introducing Genesis, another name. Look at that. The innovative suite of technologies and processes within StarEngine that breathe new life into truly immersive worlds, achieving the fidelity and scale required to fill an entire universe. I also think this will probably have something to do with fauna and the ecosystems they want to build around fauna. Unfortunately, I couldn't find where they mentioned this stuff earlier in the year. They said something about Planet Tech V5 at the beginning of this year. I don't know where that was, but this is something that is, you know, they mentioned it at last year's CitizenCon. They showed a little bit about it. It was early days. And now I think it's primed for them to start talking more about how this can really affect the game. Most important here, I think, is the optimization, though. Making planets that can run much more easily on lower end PCs, and for any other PCs, just kind of raise our frame rates. Super Kobe, thank you for the Prime sub. Colt Kimber gifting out a sub, and Reese with the 1,000 bits. Maverick with the 8 bits. Appreciate y'all driving the hype train over on Twitch. Much love. You assume Genesis isn't just Planet Tech V5. Yeah, it's not. I don't know, man. They like to name things real fancy like, but it seems like, yeah, Genesis is probably more than just Planet Tech V5. It might actually be a tool to use, like Quasar Quantum, Odin. They're all just like softwares and stuff like that. The P is in the building. That's a vegetable P, right? That we're talking about. Planet tech that could actually drive gameplay, dynamic resource spawning based on events, harvesting gas from a fissure that spawns, super rich mining veins that open up, cave collapse, etc. That could be some of the stuff they talk about. I don't know beyond what they've already talked about. And I wonder if they'll talk about lava, because that's something they haven't brought up in a while either. A new highly complicated system that'll take ages to implement and cause oodles of instability. I think that this is an optimization. I don't think this is a player-facing feature. I think this is more, Genesis is more a thing for the devs to use to create stuff. Kind of like, let's say the Star Sim simulation, right? Not really something that we would see on our end. It's more something that would affect their ability to work on the game. Procedural is a big term they are using. Diffusion processing. So basically they use the following model: forward process, reverse process, and sampling procedure. When is gameplay coming for Star Citizen? Engineering is coming in 4.0. The cargo refactor came in 3.24. We got some new FPS areas for gameplay in 3.23. I'm betting that we'll see hacking next year. Since that was a possibility for this year, but didn't quite make it. So, you know, I think every few patches they put in something that has a decent effect on gameplay. Biggest one though right now is the cargo stuff. Gameplay is a post-release stretch goal. I heard gameplay is just DLC actually. They should specifically talk about the core gameplay on Final Note with the road to 1.0. Yeah, agreed there for sure. Hey, thanks for the hype train, folks. Looks like y'all got a little reward for that. Yay! Okay, so that's kind of Planet Tech. I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's fairly straightforward. it is very much going to be, I think, about showing their ability to expand quickly and to optimize the places that we already have. Really hoping that they show us the some plans for the remake of ArcCorp, though. So of all the buildings, of all the planets in the Stanton system that need to be ready for building interiors, ArcCorp is the biggest one. Lorville has received its update. Microtech and Crusader were built with their landing zones past the point they knew about building interiors, so I think ArcCorp's really the only one that needs a big update, and I'm hoping we'll see that. Now is the time to start ramping up this part. What part? The planets? Building the size of a planet. Imagine if it was just one building. You had to fly. You enter the planet on floor 7. Takes you like 20 minutes to get to floor 1. Which topic are we on? We're about to talk about the social universe. Which, I don't know, man. Not that social. That's why I like video games, okay? Don't make me talk to people, please. The social universe, or a social universe, sorry, it reads, it's the people you meet and the bonds you form that truly bring the verse to life. Dive into how we're evolving social features to maximize your adventures, from personal one-on-one interactions to massive gatherings with hundreds and even thousands of players. Now, I did ask one of the folks if this was something that was specifically geared towards player-to-player interactions and social stuff, or if this was also including NPCs, and you'll never guess the answer that I got. You're gonna have to watch to find out. Wow. Yeah. So I have no additional insight. I think this is like the most ambiguous panel. I think this is like, this could be a lot of different things. Yeah, I really feel like this is going to be their org tool stuff. We can even go back to where they were talking about that, and we almost got an answer about it. Let's see if I can find that. That was here.
All right.
Do we have a timestamp? Do we have a timestamp? Moby Glass, Moby Glass, Moby Glass, Moby Glass, Moby Glass. Hold on. What's that? What was that cool feature I found? Yeah, here we go. I can just search the transcript if I try hard enough. Oop. Here we go.
Helping you do your org stuff instead, maybe. So that will be
all right. So here's like the one teaser we have regarding this kind of stuff, and if this will be org stuff.
If you've seen the new one, anyway, there's some apps that we obviously didn't update. So for the future, we will have that. The comms app will be replaced by something helping you do your org stuff instead, maybe. So that will be playing into a lot of social things, and we'll be updating. Knickknacks will also get, well, it will essentially be replaced by a new app coming sometime in the future, but it's going to be a better user experience to keep track of all of your things. Oh, Jared is going to beat me up now.
You said org stuff.
Yeah.
What org stuff?
So all the secrets.
What
Yes.
org stuff?
Tell us.
Nothing.
Tell more.
I didn't say anything.
That's all we want, man.
What you can't see off screen is a little gun pointed into his stomach. It's like, you better freaking tell me the org stuff. Because Jared's probably getting emails about it every day.
It's been so long. It was like CitizenCon 2013 when we introduced org stuff. It's still not in game.
Just to confirm, on the road to release in 2018, they named object container streaming, 64-bit precision, which they had already done at that time. Persistence, server meshing, and org features. All of those things we have seen. Like, we've literally seen server meshing before org features. So they can't just not have that at this CitizenCon now. They are obligated to tell us org stuff, or I swear to, quote me on this, I swear to God, I will go to CIG and I will throw a sock at their office. I don't know when I'll do that, because it's kind of far away. But we got bones to pick, man. Org stuff.
Well, you heard it here first.
What did I hear? Tell us what we heard.
Orgs. You're gonna have a dedicated app to do all your org communications, and well, there's a lot of things that we have grand plans for, but yeah, I don't want to say more than that at this point.
This isn't the place we're gonna share them, but yes, folks, you've been patient, I know. Just a little while longer.
What does that mean? What's a little while? It's CIG. A little while could be 8 years. Why couldn't he have just been like, yes, just wait until CitizenCon later this year? I don't like. They don't even have to deliver it right away, okay? If they just show us it in development, all the UI stuff we saw last year ended up showing up in some way. Maybe not the downloading of maps, but like any bit of help with org stuff. Like literally just being able to tell if somebody in the game is in our org. Holy crap. You know how many times we're in an event and two people shoot at each other from the same dynamic or global event, and they're like fighting, and then they find out somewhere on Discord later that they're in the same org? Because there's no way to tell. There's literally there's no indicator whatsoever. That kind of stuff would be great. Anyway, sorry. That's my rant. I'm done. Done with it. Clip me on it. I'll throw the sock. I swear I will. I've got it right here. It's got CIG's name on it. And toes. It says toes. What else could it be, though? A social universe. Now, besides that, I feel like this is, again, reading into the description, dive into how we're evolving social features to maximize your adventures. VoIP, right? Having a better way to communicate with people. The game has gone too long without a reliable method of communicating with people. They also absolutely 100% need to figure out how chat's going to work when we are in a server meshed environment. There's no way they're going to have 300 people in the Stanton system all reading everybody's text, right? You can't have shards that share all of the same local text. I don't want to be messaging and seeing what people are saying in Pyro. I don't want to be on Microtech running local missions and seeing what people are saying over in Orison. So they need to figure out communication between players, better support for parties. There's just like a lot of things I think that they probably realize need to happen if server meshing is coming in and expanding the player base that the game's just not ready for. We can see that in some of the tests that they're running for server meshing right now. You don't want global chat at all? I think system-wide chat makes sense. I mean, it's possible in the game. What's not possible is chatting across two different star systems for sure. But you should be able to filter it down, right? Yeah, you should probably load in local by default, but be able to see what a global chat might look like in across the star system. Yeah, within a comm array. Seems easy to copy other MMOs for chat, separate global and local options. I think that seems like a obvious choice, yeah. Oh wow, we passed our goal on Twitch? Yo, Twitch. What you doing later? I look short here. Can we just... There we go. That's better. You sure they'll implement chat channels, party local planet moons? I hope so. Yeah, the comm arrays make sense for it. So VoIP, org tools, a Another one that I think we could really use, and this is pure speculation. I don't really have any reason for thinking that they would bring this up. It's more of a hope of mine. Some kind of player trading system that both allows you to hand things to other players, but also maybe leave things in escrow for players in some way. That we kind of see that already with the persistent hangers and the stuff they're doing there. But being able to, say, take a cargo contract, move that cargo to a new space station, leave it for somebody and only that person to pick it up and then ship it somewhere else, working together in a kind of multiplayer kind of environment like that. Being able to loan out your ship, because God, how ridiculous is it that you need to get the owner of a ship sitting in the pilot seat to be able to leave a hangar right now? Like, these are such ground floor problems that make the game harder to play. They're not super obvious things that any player would watch a trailer for Star Citizen and be like, yeah, but can I leave my ship for another player to use? Like, it's kind of a given. It's almost expected. And the fact that that's still a problem is pretty indicative of how far away we are from an actual game experience. So I think that's the kind of thing that we should be looking for. But again, I don't have any reason to have expected that. I just think that that's the kind of thing that this would be the panel where they should show stuff like that. What else could be here? Dive into how we're evolving social features to maximize your adventures, from personal one-on-one interactions to massive gatherings with hundreds or even thousands of players. I wonder if they're also going to talk about dynamic events here. This is a big chunk. I do think that their panels aren't going to take up all the time in between these times. I could see this panel being an hour. I could see each panel being about an hour, and then 45 minutes to kind of walk around the floor without missing the cosplay contest. More things that require groups. Dynamic events, not the global events, not those things. Dynamic events like Korea stuff that we experience, like the, what's it called? Ghost Hollow is another kind of dynamic event, I think. Those sort of things where players can trigger it and it can make other players be attracted to that area to make a difference. That kind of stuff could show up here. I think it could be some talks of server meshing in general. Maybe, but they specifically say social features. Now, what the heck does that mean? That makes me think like the conversation system with NPCs, to be honest. In-game selling and transferring of vehicles. Yeah, it's a big one. Being able to block people. Can you block individuals in this game already? Ooh, dance emotes. Yes, more dances. And rainbows, of course. Can't forget that. Do I think they'll talk about combat at all? In the last panel, yeah. In the 1.0 discussion, yeah, we'll get combat talks, but it doesn't seem like a lot of this is going to be combat. Yeah, you know what I really appreciate about this is that they're hitting a lot of big topics, but none of them are really ones that were super obvious last year. So a social universe, like what would be... Man, I keep closing all these panels. What happens if a space station runs out of quantanium or hydrogen? Do players need to refill, or does the station wait for a new shipment? In terms of how the game is simulated, players only take up about 10% of the actual economy. So when something runs out, it could be replenished by players, but most likely, if no players do it immediately, it'll be replenished by the game. Slower. Players could speed that up, but players won't have the absolute control over that kind of stuff. If they bring in loaning out ships, they need to bring in your Repo Man gameplay. Shoot. Trying to be Jude Law, Space Jude Law. How many players do you think they need to pull the trigger on 4.0? 100. Honestly, I don't think that they need to expand the player cap that much for 4.0, if at all. I think they just need server meshing in. Like push. And that's why I don't think I don't think 4.0 is... I don't want this to be taken wrong. I don't think 4.0 is... I don't think it's that hard to push. Not in the sense that like they should be able to do it easy, just in the sense that they don't need to get hundreds or thousands of players in a shard. They just need server meshing to work in a live environment. And then to expand from there. You know, I would prefer, and this is a personal preference, I would prefer that they just make it stable and push it out and have it be in players' hands. Doesn't need to be a big, huge thing. No big kerfuffle. No massive hubbub. Just server mesh the dang environment and let players start testing it for you. Get past that milestone so that we can move on to something else. Holy crap. We've been talking about server meshing longer than master modes, and you would think that's not possible. but it is true. Actually, like 6 years longer. So I think the number of conversations I've had about both is about equal. Just pray that static server meshing works in live. Dude, it's my my nightly prayer before I go to sleep. Me and Mrs. Tomato, we both get down at the bed, put our hands together, and we say, "Oh dear sun, may your blessed rays shine down on this planet. Spare us the solar flares. Keep us alive and healthy. Give the Star Citizen devs the power to go into work every day and work on their server meshing. Oh, please. Oh, sweet Aunt Jemima, please. Please, God, give us 4.0, please. Oh my God." That's the prayer. That's it. Every night. That's why we're getting there. I am convinced that both our prayers every night and also the fact that I haven't bought a ship since August of 2021 is why server meshing is now coming out. Yeah. No ships till Pyro, and it worked, guys. It worked. We're here. We did it. 500 to 1,000 would be nice to see, but you agree server stables would be such a quality of life. Stable servers. Server stables. It's not working, you need to do better. Hey man, it takes time, okay? God works in mysterious ways. Hello. You can take that if you'd like. Hey, is this spicy? Hey. 500 is viable until all 500 end up in the same DGS. You can only stretch shard population cap as far as a single DGS can handle. Also, from the whispers and murmurs coming from Evo chat, it sounds like they are making good progress towards dynamic server meshing too. Not to say that that's coming anytime soon, but like they're closer to it than they were previously expecting to be when 4.0 came out. So that's good. Shouldn't master modes, including for cruise mode, a low-powered shield because of environmental hazards while traveling in space? I don't know. Maybe your armor handles environmental hazards. All lies and hype until it is in game. That's a rough outlook, man. That's like when you're like getting ready to graduate from university. Are you going to your dean and you're like, "Hey man, it's all lies and hype until you hand me my diploma"? You're a liar. Does that mean I'm buying all the ships after Pyro? No, I don't really buy ships in this game. Like I've spent the money that I wanted to. We basically just buy stuff for giveaways now. They were mentioning the algorithm that defines the territorial authoritative servers in server meshing. If that's true and the boundaries we're moving, that's dynamic. I did not hear about that. It is just words till we get it. I mean, I would say it's more than words. Like, we got to play it. It was definitely words back in 2019 and 2020, in 2021 and 2022. But I did literally get to go and play inside of Pyro, so it's more than words for me. It's not in the game, that's for sure, and I'm not going to tell people it's guaranteed in the game because of that, but getting to play it does make a bigger difference than reading about it on a monthly report. How long do you guess we'll be waiting for dynamic server meshing? Sounds like they're already trying to push for it. I would guess like by 2025. But, you know, we don't know what kind of problems will pop up before then. The handful of streamers that got to play Pyro doesn't count. Wait, hold up. Who in chat played Pyro? Hands up in chat if you got to play Pyro. You just became a streamer. Welcome. Congratulations. Just for playing it. Just for going to CitizenCon last year and sitting down at a computer, you became a streamer. Everyone got to play. It was literally open. It was open testing in the preview channel, was it not? Congratulations, Mesa. There you go. It's that easy. Yeah, mods, you're going to have some struggles. You got to shout out all these people now. Did you have to buy the goodies pack? It wasn't open? Oh, I thought they put it on the preview channel. Okay. Well, I guess it was streamers and I don't know what to call everybody else. But it was open on the preview channel. They did it in waves. I thought it was, but I don't know. First it was at CitizenCon, and then they did like waves in November, and then early in 2024 I thought they did a preview channel one. Either way, it was not just streamers. It's a stupid excuse. Plenty of people played Pyro. But again, my point is not that Pyro was in the game. My point is that playing inside of Pyro is more real than reading about it on a monthly report. It's not a hot take. It's a pretty standard kind of thing. Like, going through a hurricane is more real than reading about it in the news. It wasn't only released to groups of people, Evo and Wave 1 or 2. Nobody outside of... Wait, hold on. So are you changing your answer now? It wasn't just streamers? It was people at the event and people in Wave 1 and 2? Can anybody confirm that is not in Wave or 1 or 2? Did you get to play Pyro? You're not a streamer, you got to play Pyro? Vertigree, you're not in Wave 1 or 2, you're in Wave 3, you got to get in. You got to play it. Alright, we need a new answer now. It's not streamers, it's not Wave 1 or 2, it's not people at the event. It's okay to say that some people got to play and some people didn't. Of course, that's not how it should be. Everybody should get to play. It's honestly, I would be very disappointed to not be able to play Pyro the first time that they released it. I didn't play it after CitizenCon. I only played it for a little bit when we were there. But again, my point is that it's more real than reading about it. Let's move on. Next panel is cosplay. Big shout out to anybody who's doing the cosplay contest. That's a lot of fun. It takes a lot of preparation for some people, and you can do some really impressive stuff with cosplay. I will probably not be watching that because we'll be doing some discussion and stuff. We might check in a little bit and see what's going on, but I'm mostly here for the gameplay and stuff. So thank you, Toby, for sponsoring that, it looks like, and thanks to everybody who's taken part in that. I know they had a more long-term sign-up process this time, so it's a bigger deal this year. But that's going to be the third panel of the first day. Fourth panel is called Dress to Kill, which is an interesting one. That's an interesting name. It's not quite Dress to Impress, unless you're impressed by being killed. And it reads, from high fashion to dynamic function, discover starwear. Starwear. I made a joke on Twitter earlier to one of the devs. I'm pretty proud of it. I said that they should rename the character customizer to Starmie, but instead of Starmie, spell it like the Pokemon Starmie. It's like a pretty... Pat myself on the back for that one. They just love to throw star before everything to name it. I'm like, you guys just gonna patent the word star? Or trademark? That'd be a trademark, right? Star Citizen Dress to Impress collab. The Star. The Star Ball. Why am I not named Star Tomato? Man, that just does not roll off the tongue, does it? Star-mato, maybe? What's my idea for their naming scheme without star? Well, it looks like they just went with Genesis here. and one of their other ones is Quantum. And holy crap, we know how much they've overused that one. So you know what? If it helps you name things specifically by putting star before them, then do it. Keep going with it. Hello, Josh. See you in an hour. Without star, we're just citizens. Imagine if this game was just called Citizen. Yeah, man. My favorite MMO. It's called Citizen. Like, brother, you get that when you're born. It's just automatic. Citizenship is not earned. It's automatic. Hoping there will be suits and dresses added. Maybe some more focus on clothing instead of spacesuits would be nice. Yeah, agreed. So continuing, discover starwear and exciting new character-focused specializations that let you define your identity and take on the challenges ahead, including the return of a legendary friend from CitizenCon's past. Okay, this is my hottest take of all of CitizenCon. I put it on my video about this, but if you haven't watched it,
that mid-level.
I will let Chris describe to you what I think might be the big reveal that they talk about here.
142.
So skills, it's not just Squadron 42, it will be Star Citizen as well. So we've split them up into kind of two areas. One is physical attributes. So we have 4 physical attributes such as strength, agility, endurance, and fitness. And then we have techniques, which is kind of like whether it's takedowns or traversal. So if you look at the physical attributes, what we have, essentially we're going to have a skill system that you can go, and the way that you play the game will dictate how you level up these particular skills. So if you're constantly carrying boxes, you know, you may get stronger, so you can actually lift stronger things. But getting stronger doesn't just allow you to lift heavier boxes, but it also means that your equip load that you can carry in your inventory is higher. That weight doesn't affect you as much, so you can sprint further because it's not affecting your stamina as much. You know, your force reactions, you're more resistant to that because you're stronger in yourself. Agility in terms of like weapon swapping or going to ADS. We have endurance, so that's, for example, like how resistant you are to the environment. If you look at, say, Navy SEAL training or SES training in essentially, you know, they have cold weather training. They have, you know, you can survive in harsher climates. You can go longer without sustenance. And then that's what essentially endurance gives you. And also, for example, like G-force and readout, so that you know, pilots train for that so they can actually modulate their breathing so they're actually able to sustain higher Gs than a normal person would be. And then you have fitness. So fitness, for example, you can have a higher stamina. So when we have swimming, you can swim longer, you can hold your breath longer, you can sprint longer. So we have these physical attributes, and we have multiple different ways for how you improve them. And those physical attributes will denote how effective you are at certain things in the game. So, and that will come to obviously for flying as well as in FPS. But we're not going to be removing any of the skill elements. So there's nothing that we're going in there going, oh, you've got 10% more damage, or you know, we're going to make you
I don't know, man. This is this is going to be very divisive. This is going to be very divisive. This is going to be, I think, a bigger talking point than the cargo stuff, than the engineering stuff, at least for people who've been following the game for a while. I think this is really going to split opinions, and we will have to see just how far into this they go, how much they bring this into the game. From what it sounds like, it's going to be kind of like how Grand Theft Auto does their stuff. How, you know, the more you do something, the more it levels up, as opposed to like going and getting skill points or working on experience and then applying that to a certain skill. It's kind of more of a natural progression. But even then, this is going to be divisive, I think.
Fly the plane better. It's like, no, that's always relying on your skill. This is the things that you can't necessarily improve. So, you know, like I said, how fast you can sprint or how far you can sprint. All of those different things that are tied into your physical attributes.
Well, it's like real life, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like, you've got to spend some time if you want to increase your strength. I mean, yes, you could naturally be born strong, but if you go to the gym and you start lifting weights, you know, okay, I can do whatever. I can like bench press 100 pounds. Now I can do 120. Now I can do 140. Now I can do 160. Now I can do 180, right? Well, you couldn't do 180 right from the beginning. You had to work the same if you're like
Don't
running,
make fun of me, Chris. I could never do those things.
Marathon. And so that's kind of the idea, is there are things that you do during the gameplay that, you know, your gameplay can add to it. But if you want to take some time and go to the gym and do some squats, you can get some strength up. And again, that's part of like making that the living world. So if you want to invest in your character that way, in a sort of more realistic way, the way the world works, because like Rich says, we still want all the skill in terms of being able to, you know, aim and shoot and do all the rest of the stuff, then you can do that if that's something that makes sense for what your character is going to be. I mean, in, you know, Squadron's one thing, but in the PU, you know, yeah, I'm a cargo hauler. I probably don't really need to be all buff and everything, because I'm sitting there in the cab of my Caterpillar hauling a bunch of cargo. But if I want to be a bounty hunter, maybe I want to invest some time. So if I'm in a foot race trying to take someone down, I can outrun them, you know?
Yeah, because if you're wearing the same, if you're wearing heavy armor and they're wearing heavy armor, and you've put effort into, you know, skilling up your character because you're saying, you know, that's the dedicated area of focus that you want, you know, you can run further than them. You can carry things, you know, that are heavier than they can. You can equip things onto you and it doesn't affect you as much. So all of those different physical attributes, it allows you to progress your character in those ways. And then we have the technique side of things. So we're going to have multiple different techniques for lots of different skills across the star system. But a good one to how to explain it is, it's almost like the 10,000 hours. You know, if you do 10,000 hours kind of thing, you're better at something. So takedowns is a good example. So the first time you do a takedown, you know, that's going to be quite sloppy. It's going to take quite a long time. You know, you might struggle and, okay, eventually you take them down and it's like, oh, okay, the guy over there heard me. It's not very good. And after a certain amount of time that you practice at them.
Yeah, more takedowns you do, the better
you'll get better. So then they'll change different animations. So now you'll unlock a different animation where it's smoother.
Steve Bender is very looking forward to getting all the versions of takedown.
Yeah.
Literally, at CitizenCon last year, Steve Bender was the one who presented the assassination. I never caught that he mentioned that. That's so funny.
Sloppy to super killer pro.
Yeah, and at the end ones, it'd be like, you know, straight in, straight out. Sloppy. You lower him down onto the floor. It takes, you know, it's much faster. But you've put in the effort to level that skill to a level that you want to achieve. And I think that's what skills is about. It's about giving players goals that they want to do.
We'll have the same for like, melee, like fist fighting,
melee combat,
or knife fighting. Longer term, we want to sort of, this is more PU, not Squadron, but introduce, say, more moves you could do in fights, say martial arts or whatever. You have to go somewhere.
Or traversal as well.
Brother,
and
what?
Learn them from someone and then do it a bit more and then you would get better. So these are all things you could gain. And that's kind of the...
You're going to learn your Xion special skills in martial arts. That's a lot, man.
Like you said, the idea of sort of
you know, the skills and techniques that we want to introduce, because again, it's, you know, this is going to be a really huge, deep world, and it's sort of up to you how you want to essentially build your character.
If you look at fighter pilots now.
Okay, so this was actually shown at CitizenCon last year to an extent. Man, I don't even know which panel that was. I think it might have been this one. Yeah, here we go.
So this is where we're going to add some player skill progression. So going to move you through different action sets. You're going to start off by struggling. You might fail. Of course, this sort of added time and the extra noise you're making is really going to increase the risk of detection. You're going to get faster the more you do it, and then you're going to reach maximum efficiency. Check this one out. So he's so fast you can barely see him do it, and then he guides the body to the floor, so it makes almost no noise, right? We're going to explore some more variation beyond our unarmed and our knife takedowns, like sedative injection.
They are very ready to present this, I think, and this is probably something that they first developed for Squadron, and it's basically ready to go with Squadron, as that game is much further along than the PU. But yeah, I think this is something that will add emphasis to Death of a Spaceman. That'll make people care more about their characters and not losing that character by dying. It'll add some progression for a lot of people who generally are looking less at a sandbox and more of a player-focused game. And it'll likely be something they also talk about in the 1.0 talk. But yeah, this is going to be divisive. I don't know how this is going to be taken. I think really they need to be careful about how they market and sort of explain this. Words like skills and leveling up and stuff like that seems to rub people the wrong way. So yeah. But yeah, I think this is one of the biggest parts of this first panel, or not first panel, but the third gameplay panel that they are talking about here with Dress to Kill. And that's that. See if that's... Hey, nice. Okay, so... Uh-oh. I'm giving OBS too much to do. You thought the PTU didn't have levels? That's the thing, it's not going to be levels. They're not going to do it in a level sense. They're just going to do it in a general passive kind of sense from what I'm understanding. We'll see though. Was I Navy or Marines? No. This is a Halo tattoo. Sorry. This is it's very misleading because the Halo part gets covered up by shirts. I am a huge fan of John Halo. Big video game is a big part of my life. So it was my first tattoo. This was a very bad idea to get as a first tattoo. Don't get a tattoo this big for your first one. It hurts a lot. Get something a little easier on your skin. You got scammed. You're not the first. I'm sorry. It ends up being like that. Maybe like how Tarkov does it. I've heard that Tarkov has something like that too, yeah, and people seem to like it. Pain is just weakness leaving the body. Can it like actually go then? Does it have to keep coming back and then leaving me again? It just leave and stay away, pain. Thank you. Your first tattoo was on your wrist. Oh my gosh. Yikes. My sister did that. She got one on her ankle. She came back and she was like, "Don't do that. Don't get it on your ankle." No, thank you. I don't have enough pain in my body to leave like that. Tarkov has 20 hours to get 0.04 better stamina. Well, I think Star Citizen should be long-term like that too. The inside of your arm opposite your elbow. Wow, you just have a propensity to get bad tattoos, huh? Your wife's only tattoo covers all her ribs on her left side. Yo, what the f? Ow! Jesus. Do I think they'll review other systems besides Nyx? Hey man, don't get ahead of us. That's our next panel. Besides the player skills, I think here we could see a couple other things, maybe like how NPCs might interact to how you're dressed. There is supposed to be more emphasis on actually wearing clothes in this game to be more presentable in certain situations. There is the idea that your armor is supposed to limit you in some ways. So we used to actually have it where if you wore a heavy helmet, your eyesight would be restricted a little bit more. And I think that with the ways they've started to update the HUD, we could see helmets make a difference with your ability to see around. We could see armor be restricted from flying ships, certain types of ships at least, as you're supposed to wear a flight suit or undersuit to fly ships and not necessarily heavy armor or medium armor. And we could just see generally more of a focus on what the heck you're doing with your character and how that affects your gameplay, as opposed to just being there for customization's sake. Mrs. and you got tattoos on your fingers instead of rings since tattoos don't come off. Hey. Hey. Mrs. Tomato's got some finger tattoos. They look painful. Yeah, hopefully maybe some more weapon attachments and stuff. There's a really good panel if you want to go and learn more about how armor and stuff will work. There's a really good panel in 2019 about armor, where they go over all kinds of stuff. The different types of armor you're going to have, how it's supposed to be specialized for certain things, the fact that some armors will have like power supplies that you need to keep charged, kind of like the weapons, how they have like temperature resistance along certain parts. There's quite a bit to talk about in this panel, so I'd check that out. Just search CitizenCon 2019, you'll find it. All right, next panel, Beyond Pyro. How many people were immediately happy to read that title? Beyond Pyro, and not anything that had to actually do with Pyro. They're making the good move this year, and they are clearly saying Pyro and Stanton are our first block, and we're gonna just step right over that and start talking about something else. I don't think it wouldn't have made much sense for them to continue talking about Pyro for this CitizenCon. Maybe in the same sense that they talk about Stanton, because they still do talk about Stanton at times at CitizenCon, not because it's new, just because that's where the game is currently hosted. So I think they're just treating it the same way as Stanton now. Pyro has been discussed. It has been shared. We have gotten freaking ISCs on ISCs about it. There's not really much else for them to talk about and introduce that would both build marketing or even inform us. So, Beyond Pyro. What are we thinking? Nyx, obviously. I mean, they might as well have just said, and we're going to talk about Nyx here. Nyx is as obvious in this panel as Squadron 42 is obvious in this redacted section. You can't get away from it, CIG. We know you. But if you look at the map, we can kind of make some calls as to what else they might talk about. And while we're waiting for this to load, I will show you the other stuff they have already shown from other star systems. Yes, you may have seen some Nyx discussion, but did you know we've seen Terra concept art? I'll show you that first.
Scam!
Mrs. Tomato, did you just use the scam sound? I don't think I've heard that one yet. Hey, I missed some subs there. Flying Blender and Frost Otis, thank you both for the Prime sub. Appreciate you over on Twitch. Sticking it to Amazon. I'll say it, public service announcement. If you have Amazon Prime, you also get a free sub every month that you can throw to your local tomato if you'd like, or whoever is your favorite entertainer. It doesn't have to be me, but just know you can support somebody if you like their content. And it comes out of Bezos' pocket. Yeah. Certified Gumbo, thank you for the sub as well. 31 months, dude. Happy belated birthday, SC. Yeah, it was their birthday yesterday, huh? 12 years ago. The idea of Star Citizen was officially born. Check this out, though.
Also in concept are these heavy armors from the planet Terra, center of the UEE and the planet that humanity chose. Now, as with all concepts, these may or may not be chosen to be taken into implementation. But as we've explored before, that's life in the continuously iterative world of concept work. And you can bet we'll check in again if any of these designs move forward.
So that's all we've heard. But that is Terra. This was a while ago. This isn't anything new. Don't think they just randomly started talking about Terra. But they were at least looking at some concepts for it. So I think they were at least in some early design and concept discussions about the system about 4 years ago. We also saw Terra. It was originally planned to be the first system in the game. So back in like 2014, we saw some looks at Terra gameplay on the skyline, but that was scrapped because A, it was made for the old version of the game that didn't have open planetary exploration, and 2, Stanton ended up being the main system in the game because it made more sense than Terra. Stanton offers more types of gameplay than Terra does as a high security system. Stanton being a mid security system obviously means that the ability to handle piracy and other types of stuff makes more sense. But if we look at human space, so here's Sol, here's us. Clear across human space on the other side is where we are starting, Stanton. Now, the Stanton system connects to Pyro, Terra, and Magnus. Pyro is right here. You can see the systems it connects to. Terra, Cano, Castra, Oso, and Nyx. It makes sense that the first and second systems we get both connect to the Terra system, right? Pyro and Stanton. The third system we're getting is here, Nyx. So you've got this line going from Stanton to Pyro to Nyx. The Squadron 42 campaign takes place in Odin. Now, we have no reason to believe Odin is being prepared for the PU. There's a big difference between being made for a kind of on the rails single player game and an MMO persistent universe, mining, salvaging, different types of factions, missions, points of interest, things you can't really go and do while you're running a military campaign. But it is good to note that Odin is connected to the third system in the game, and one that we will probably be getting in the next year and a half, maybe. But besides that, what other options do we have? And they could always throw in a system in there that's not already connected to these. They could just be like, hey, we're moving this system and it's going to be thrown into the game. But from what we already know, you've also got Magnus connected to Stanton. Magnus also connects to Terra. Magnus is the home of Drake Interplanetary, and it is the kind of main, the main permanent fixture of their one landing zone there. So you've got Boreal is the name of the landing zone. Magnus is a kind of mid-security actually I think it is a UEE system. But it went through a pretty, it's UEE affiliated. It went through a pretty hefty amount of time without much loss, so it's more dangerous than something like Stanton. But it's still a UEE system. Now, Magnus is the home of my own org. If you guys don't have an org, great group of people. Join GII, !GII if you want a group. We do combat, we do industrial, do exploration, we do talking. We do a lot of talking. And we just launched our own progression system in the game. We're still working through the kinks and getting it up to speed and expanding on it, but you can progress in the org and in the game. So Magnus is actually connected to, it's a really, really valuable location. If you trace the lines, it connects to Stanton, which is like the shopping mall of the UEE. It connects to Terra, which is basically the capital of the UEE. And it connects to Ellis, one of the tourist hotspots of the UEE. So we call this the Magnus Triangle. Well, nobody else does but me, but maybe it'll catch on at some point. And the Magnus Triangle is what my org is focused on, and I think what is going to be a incredibly populous part of the game. And I do think that all of these 3 systems will be included in, say, the first 7 or 8 that we see. Not to say that we'll see those anytime soon, but I'm excited to see when we do finally get. I think Ellis will be the last one in that group that's added, but Ellis, we already have some maps in Arena Commander, so we do kind of know a bit of what it looks like. But of the systems that we know about, I do believe that there is an opportunity that at CitizenCon here, we will hear about the Nyx system right here, the Odin system over here, the Terra system. I lost that. I lost Terra. Where'd you go? Oh, right here. And maybe the Magnus system. I think when it comes to those last 2, it'll be more concept kind of stuff, like we just saw with the armor. But I do think that they're going to start to introduce the idea of more systems that they are working on or want to work on. We heard about Pyro like 5 years ago, okay? And I think 2 to 3 years is plenty of time for them to talk about and hype up a system before we get it in game. If you don't think that they are 2 to 3 years out from at least one new system besides Nyx, I wouldn't blame you. But I think they are. And I think that they've got some more systems they'd like to talk about. So that's what I think it's going to be. If they talk about Terra, you'll buy everyone at the event from GII a beer. What if I'm not at the event? What's Nyx actually like? Do we have any details? Oh, we've got tons of details, my friend. The main landing zone in Nyx was actually in-game for a while. That's why it's so likely to be the next system. You can actually just go on Google. Better yet, you can go on YouTube and type in Star Citizen Delamar. And there's all kinds of videos about it. Ferrister's got one. Morphologist got one. Try used to make videos. I remember them. They've got one. I made a cinematic. What was it called? Forgotten? I think. Yeah. And this actually included a lot of... Yeah, this includes a lot of Levski. So this is from Levski here. That's Stanton, Grimhex. That's Levski. It's kind of just a lot of stuff that looks like it was forgotten. Hence the name. This is all Levski. This is all in-game shots from this landing zone. So it's kind of broken down. I mean, it's not a nice place by any means. It's outside of the UEE. It's as if Pyro had more order to it. If Pyro wasn't controlled by gangs, but rather by a civilian group that was able to put force down to establish laws and rules and stuff. Whoa! What just happened? What? Giveaway winner. Twitch, what you doing? Wait, what? Brock Gus just gifted away 2 stickers in the chat? How did I miss that? Dude. Wait. Dude, you just gifted away 2 stickers? Vassin and Maverick both just won stickers because Brock Gus gifted out. Dude. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Sharing the love. That is a cool way to support. Yeah, I was yapping. That's a really cool way to support. Supports the channel, but it also kind of gets some of the people some cool merch. You guys make sure to verify that. Get your stickers. I appreciate you. And Doc Sully, thank you for the Prime sub. Much love. So yeah, all of this is Levski. All already in-game, ready to be played, existing. This isn't like some far-off concept. That is not Levski. This is Aberdeen. So yeah, this whole video isn't Levski, but there's plenty of it, and you can just search all over YouTube and you'll find a lot of different videos about it. The Nix system is coming. And I would not be surprised if it was in the next year. When is the stream Q&A? You can ask questions. I'm trying to hit them up. I missed some of them. This is also a system that's kind of shrouded in a nebula. Let me see if I can find it again on this map. There we go. It's kind of shrouded in a nebula. So it is going to probably be a big place for them to test exploration and scanning and stuff like that. It's got two asteroid belts, 3 planets, I think. Yeah, 3 planets, a landing zone, several jump points. Not a crazy complex system, but it is run by, let me double check who the faction is. The People's Alliance. People's Alliance of Levski, a fringe group that aims to create an equal self-sufficient society separate from the government of the UEE. It's a place to go for missions outside the law and for black market goods, but it's also home to radicals, rebels, free thinkers, and those who just don't want to be bothered with Earth's bureaucracy. Humans on the frontier feel betrayed by the actions of the messers, for good reason, and have adopted a once-bitten strategy when it comes to UEE, and no one is going to tell you they're wrong. The Alliance possesses a set of 6 altruistic community rules for its inhabitants that sound much more like an attempt to build a better world than to smuggle narcotics. Now, there is a very good story linked to this. This is when you're starting to get into the lore of Star Citizen. It gets deep. Star Citizen's lore is actually pretty deep already, and every time something gets added to the game, it gets made more deep. But this whole idea of the messers, for those who don't know, a big part of the reason that Star Citizen is 900 years in the future but still feels so much like it didn't make it that far is because, well, a few different things. Obviously, when you're making a fiction, you do still have to kind of ground it in current day technology just because it's easier to implement and iterate on that. But also a couple different things, including the fact that the whole of humanity was ruled by a pretty bad dictatorship for like a few centuries. This dictatorship was killing off people who were smart, excommunicating people who were big thinkers. They were kind of very xenophobic. They were against a lot of different technological advancement unless it came specifically from where they wanted it to. So it stifled a lot of progression. And there were groups like the People's Alliance of Levski who sprouted up because of that and have just stuck around ever since the fall of that regime, which only ended like 200 years before the game starts. And in a 900-year history, 200 years is not really that long. So there's a lot of lore that surrounds Nix, and I think it gives them a lot of opportunity to build on how the game actually formed via lore and get some more backstory and some more history. Nix is a very historic system. It's an important system. And they could do a lot with it. So I'm interested in seeing how they've changed it since we've been in there. But there's a statue there of this guy holding this boy. This is a boy who once refused to work while he was in a factory. They did a lot of child labor, messers, yay. And he stood up to the guard who was on duty and said, "I'm not going to work anymore. This sucks. Kind of hurts. I'm hungry." He didn't say I'm hungry, but he didn't want to work. And the guard, I'm pretty sure, shot him in the head, which is not what you're supposed to do to kids. It's like very much on the no-no list. And that was a big inspiration for this place. And why there's a statue here in the middle of the landing zone. So again, all this is in game. This is not concept art. This is not a far off concept. Nix is something that has been mostly ready in terms of landing zone for a while. But it's going to need some more work, obviously, to get into a PU status especially how it is now versus when it was in the game back in 2019. But I do think we should expect to see that definitely talked about here, as well as maybe some other stuff like Magnus, Terra, possibly Odin. Yeah, I don't know really what else there is to say about this panel. We said a lot. And we'll see what they do there. Yeah, definitely top 3 things not to do to kids. Space Stalin and his heirs. I don't know enough about Stalin to know, but like these people were freaking nuts. These people were like killing entire planets worth of populations. Not humans, but of other species. They were just like, now we don't like them. Just terraform their planet. They can die off. It's cool. If you go and look them up, they have a long line. The Messer era ran from 2546 to 2792. Freaking, that was 200 years. Over 200 years. And you got like, let's see, what are some of the bad things they did here? Committing resources. Oh no. Over, like, you can see through all these stories between the different people who ruled throughout this family, how much there were power struggles. They backstabbed each other. They were assassinating people who belonged to each other's allies, just all this stuff. The Mesher regime literally ended because the ruler at the time's kids teamed up against him and killed him, and then they lost control. Like, it's just all bad. They're just not great people. So this is the kind of part of Star Citizen we haven't gotten to experience yet because they're so busy trying to make an actual game that the lore hasn't really stuck out. But once they start to bring this stuff in, I think it's going to be very interesting to get to run missions and work for groups that maybe weren't exactly related to these groups, but were influenced by them, like the people in Nyx, like even some of the companies that we see in the game now. I think Anvil Aerospace became a more powerful company because Aegis was aligned with the Messers. Same with Crusader. They ended up saving the cargo hauling industry because the Messer regime fell, and so many of the other companies that were tied to them also saw their CEOs and people fled. That's actually a really cool angle too. When we start seeing other systems that are outside of human space, how many times will we run into people who fled from human space because the Messer regime fell, and we start to get some of that backstory from an angle we never got before. That's a really long ways away, but Star Citizen clearly has a lot of lore they can play with, and I think these are the kinds of stories that will also lead to other forms of media following Star Citizen and Squadron 42, if these projects are successful. All right, next panel, and the final one for day one, is Redacted, which they might as well just write Squadron 42 here. Literally, it says UEE. It is redacted as military stuff is, and there's nowhere else here where they talk about Squadron 42, and like they need to talk about Squadron 42. Holy crap. It can't not be talked about. They need to prove it out. Yeah, exactly. Tyrus. Serious fun, dude. Thank you for the bits, by the way. Can we get a shout out from my man?
Toes.
Thank you so much for hopping in here and appreciate the support. That was a good story. You didn't know that? Thank you. If you want to learn more about these stories, hit up Astropub. He's got a lot of, or Astro Historian actually is his lore channel. Got a lot of really good information on this stuff. The lore goes deep. It's pretty interesting, and it is built out quite a bit for a game that has not released yet. So I'm really pumped to see what they do with it after it releases. And I think Squadron 42 will be a big, big part of building out that lore and introducing people to it. So yeah, Squadron 42 is going to be this panel, and let me just say, this is you know, for all the people who say that Star Citizen is a scam, I think really they need to direct that at Squadron 42. Not to say it is a scam, but Squadron 42 is kind of like the younger sibling who knocked all of the shit off of the counter and did all the bad stuff and then went and sat on the couch like nothing happened while the older sibling is getting in trouble. I know you're in chat. You know who you are. It's taken the lion's share of the money in this development, yet it is the game that people don't know they're funding. Like, a lot of people are brought in by Star Citizen. Playable now, releasing new ships, adding new features, updates every quarter, all this stuff. Yet a lot of that development has gone towards Squadron 42. And I don't think the way that they've done this is good. In the same way that I don't think the way that Tesla has done some of their promising and then not delivering while also delivering other stuff is good. Or how... Who's another example? I don't have any others off the top of my head. But there's a lot of examples of this, like, hey, we're trying to work on this thing, but look over there, that's much better. Pay attention to that for now. Star Citizen has brought a lot of funding to this game, and Squadron 42 has eaten a lot of it up. And I don't think there is any other way that this was going to work, because Star Citizen is the only thing we can play. It's the only thing that's going to keep people interested in this project. You really can't run a crowdfunding campaign on a game where you release some trailers every few years. You can't really, that's not going to work. Nobody's going to fund $700 million for a freaking single player campaign that nobody can play. So they used Star Citizen in order to make money to fund Squadron 42, which I'm thinking they then hope releases and sells a bunch to help fund Star Citizen's development. And that's not great. I think Star Citizen is what more people are interested in, but Squadron 42 is probably going to make more of a splash. Like, after next week, depending on what they do in this redacted section, Squadron 42 could be what brings more people in than Star Citizen. At least when it comes to more casual gamers. Especially if they announce something like a future console release for Squadron. But I do think that if Squadron is a success, it'll be a boon for Star Citizen. And I think what they need to do here is really just sell it, honestly. They did plenty last year to kind of introduce people to what it's supposed to be. Now what they need to do is just show a large, uncut piece of gameplay that shows that they can, A, make good gameplay that's convincing, and 2, actually have something. So many people don't even believe this stuff exists. People don't even believe Star Citizen exists, and it's actively playable. Squadron 42 is like so down there on the totem pole of what people care about when it comes to the gaming industry, and they need to catapult it up to the top and get it ready for marketing for a potential release next year. So I think this is going to be mainly a demo and probably some kind of a marketing stunt, like bringing out one of the celebrities who's in the game to give an announcement or show up on stage or talk or something like that. They're not doing the gala. They canceled the gala, obviously, so that they could put more effort into the actual event. And I'm guessing some of that went towards whatever this is going to be. I think we'll get a release window. I don't think we'll get a date. So yeah, a soft window. I'm thinking half 2 of next year. But judging by their monthly reports, they do seem to be really in polishing finally. There's clearly gameplay that works in Squadron that doesn't work in Star Citizen, even though they wanted to bring Star Citizen or Squadron features over to Star Citizen. So I wouldn't necessarily say that just because Star Citizen's gameplay isn't running the best right now, Squadron is also not running great. I think that they are on 2 different dev branches and 2 different trajectories when it comes to polish and how the game runs. Squadron 42 specifically is being developed to be much more about bespoke opportunities and very specific things happening at specific times. Like right now, you could go out in Star Citizen and you might land down in the forest and there won't be any Copion because they are procedurally spawned into the game at certain locations. In Squadron 42, they could literally make it so that wherever you land on a planet, they're going to spawn some enemies right there just to make sense for the story. And they could do that kind of stuff when you're flying a ship and you come across a hauler. When you're landing at a space station, you come across an NPC. When you're getting out of your ship and an engineer is running up to you saying something, all of that stuff can be easily scripted. Not easily. I use that word lightly. It could be much more easily than Star Citizen scripted and made to make you feel like you're playing through a game, as opposed to Star Citizen, which has to be procedural. It's got to be a little bit more free-floating and made to feel like you're living in a world rather than just running through a story. You think Holiday 25? Bet we get another Answer the Call 2016 that gets delayed. I don't think they'll delay it. It's too late to delay it. They have actual financial reasons they need to release this game now. All the way back from the original Calder's investment back in, I think, 2018 or 2019, 2024 was the target they set. So I think that this is going to be the kickoff of their marketing run, and whatever happens here is what starts the hype train for the release of the game. Kind of like how Halo Campaign brought the game alive, but the players really loved the MP. Yeah, and also like Grand Theft Auto. I think Grand Theft Auto is one of the best examples of how they're running Star Citizen. It is a game that depends on the prowess of the actual Grand Theft Auto single player story and experience is what drove GTA Online to be a huge success. And I think that's what they want to happen with Squadron and Star Citizen. Don't know if it will, but I think that's kind of the hope and the way that they're laying it out. Inforunners are streaming for UK soon. Notifications will motivate you. Whoa! They already flew out. Oh, that's right. They flew out this week. Lots of people know nothing of Squadron 42, never heard of it. I still remember when, let's see if I can find that. Squadron 42 Mark Hamill 2019 tweet. God, 2019 is ridiculous. Let's see if we can find that link. Thank you. Not a link to the actual tweet. Oh, is this it? Toes. Yeah, here we go. I think this is, yeah, so he tweeted out the trailer. What? We hit another hype train on Twitch? Nomad, dude, thank you for the 5 subs and Meet Your Maker for the Prime sub. Smurf with the bits. You guys, Maverick, dude. Smurf also Prime subbed. You guys are killing it. Juke Sky Squawker, which I love that name. Thank you for the Prime sub. Thank you guys so much for pushing these hype trains. It is, dang. Hypetober is what they call it. Arocha, thanks for the Prime sub. If you scroll through this, you can see people are like, what the heck is going on? Am I imagining, or did I see John Rhys Davies and Ben Mendelsohn? I wish it was coming to Xbox. The best is people thinking this is a CGI movie or TV show they can catch on Netflix. People literally are like, is this a new Netflix series? This stuff is going to pop the off when they start marketing it, especially with all the names they have behind this. Thank you. Look up the names. Yo. Oh, Arcocha gifted out 20 subs, dude. You rock. Oh my god. And Luna Maria popping off on YouTube. Thank you. Just said wee. Thank you. Much love to you guys. Look at this cast. This is ridiculous. Henry Cavill, Gillian Anderson, Damson Idris. I don't know who that is. Handsome man though. Mark Cavill. Wow. Or Mark Hamill. Cavill. Gary Oldman, Andy Serkis, Mark Strong, Liam Cunningham, Ben Mendelsohn. What kind of cast is that? And a lot of people, for good reason, are not happy about this kind of cast because clearly it's an expensive cast and that's where a lot of money had gone. I think for some people, maybe not so much. Mark Hamill and both Mark Hamill and John Rhys Davies are. Where is John? Am I missing him on here? He's not even on here. They are both good friends with Chris Roberts, from what I understand. So maybe those kinds of things are a little bit, there's more wiggle room there.
You rock. You know that?
But definitely, I mean, Henry Cavill got brought on before he got super famous. I think that was good for him. This was before he got signed on to this, before I think he was even really big as Man of Steel, let alone Witcher or any of the other things he started to get big on. But like Andy Serkis, Gary Oldman, Mark Strong, Ben Mendelsohn, Rona Mitra, I don't remember what she is in from, but I've heard the name. And I think I've heard Eleanor Tomlinson as well. So there's a lot of people in this game, and that kind of star power, regardless of what the game is going to be a ton of marketing over the course of 8 months or so leading up to this game. So really, they just need to nail the launch. They just need to have a good game and delay it as long as you need to, because if you have all of that power behind the game and then you launch it and it's crap in terms of stability, that looks really bad. If it's not crap in terms of stability, but it's just an average game, that I think that would be better. Don't think that means it's going to be a success, but yeah. Jonathan Bailey.
You rock.
Who's Jonathan Bailey? What's he in? Oh, he's in Bridgerton. Who is he in Bridgerton? Mrs. Tomato loves Bridgerton. Wonder where there'll be ads outside of YouTube and CitizenCon. Oh yeah, dude, there's going to be ads all over the place for this. That's what the Calder investment was for. You look up the... Yeah, we've got freaking super chats going on over here. Pretty cool content. Pretty cool stuff. Thank you, you're pretty cool. Appreciate your support. And Escape. Give Talon Shrike rockets. Does it not have rockets? Is it just missiles? So in 2018, the Calder family invested $46 million literally just for marketing. They want to create a marketing monster out of this game. Like this is going to be huge for them. And this is why I think they have said that they are going to expand. In fact, we can just go to letter from the chairman 2023. I think it might have been, or was it 22? Let's see. This is why they did all of their expansions. No, this isn't it. Where is that letter? Maybe if I type in Star Citizen 2, that makes more sense. Sirius Black. Maybe it was the May one? Might have been the May one. So this is where I think all this kind of stuff comes from. Expanding into new offices, building up their employees up to 1,200 freaking people with a head count of 840. They're talking about expanding to like 1,200 or supplying how many jobs in the Manchester area? Some 1,300 to 1,700 jobs in the Manchester area alone. Like, they're hoping for a huge influx of cash, in my opinion. And they have been planning on that for the last couple of years. And I think they expect Squadron 42 to be that huge influx that helps to drive forward Star Citizen, to support all this expansion they've been doing, and to just build a lot more hype behind this project. Because there's a lot riding on this. Star Citizen is riding on this. As even if you don't care about Squadron 42, the success of this panel and what comes after it could mean a lot for how Star Citizen goes forward. I hope it goes well. They really need to nail this, and I think that's why the whole Chapter 1 focus has been so heavy in the monthly reports this year. I think that's why we've seen some things about people coming in to redo some of their lines over this last year, like Mark Hamill. We've seen the composer of Squadron 42 doing quite a bit of work over the last few months. yeah, just in general, there's a lot to be done here. 42 million versus the 700 million from backers. It's hard to quantify just how much money's gone to Squadron versus, like, that's the hard thing about this. And I can't imagine being the person who's behind the financials of this, to try and quantify what you have built by investing in your own game engine, by building in the IP that is Star Citizen, by building out all of this lasting, all these assets that build into what could be the future of Star Citizen and Squadron, against how much money straight up does Squadron make when it sells. That's a confusing equation. And I don't think there's any real way to account for that other than by, at the end of the day, looking at how much this game actually makes a long-term difference rather than just the sales. How does it land with the world? Do people see this and think, I want more? Because you could have an okay financial situation from Squadron, but what if people are dying for more? What if they want movies or series or short stories or more games? Like, we're living in an age now where everybody wants to be a cinematic universe or some kind of ecosystem of media. And if they can pull that off with this IP, then that would be better than just having a good, successful game. I know that Squadron 42 flops, CIG is going bankrupt. I don't know that. Nobody can know that. We don't even know what would happen with Star Citizen. I do think that if Squadron 42 flops, they'll be in trouble. But Squadron 42 going out and making a big splash, even if it does flop, could bring in investors. It could give them an easy ability to sell more assets and get more money. It could be an impressive showcase of their engine that allows them to license out. We don't really know what happens if it does flop, but I do think it still needs to be a success in whatever way it can be. It didn't take 700 million to make Squadron. It took 700 million to build their studios and team and engine. And that's not valueless. It can't flop like some other games recently. It certainly can't flop like Joker 2. It can't do that. But that's why I'm saying it needs to be stable. And what they need to show us here is that they have a stable game with decent gameplay. No doubt it's going to be cinematics heavy. That's what these games always are. Wing Commander is super cinematic heavy. As we've seen from what they've shown of Squadron 42, they've focused a ton on the fidelity and the graphics and the presentation, and just, it looks like they're trying to be a movie as a game. Think Hellblade. Think Uncharted. Think, in some respects, Mass Effect. Think anything from Hideo Kojima. It's definitely focusing on flair, excitement, and a beautiful presentation. Not just gameplay. But it needs to be stable, and it needs to be a good story, good writing. They won't be kind to it even if it's really good. They won't. They won't. But word of mouth is what wins these days. And if they can hit that word of mouth, even if they're not getting the best reviews, that'll get them places, especially if it is actually good. But this game is going to be reviewed and received based on the delays that it's had and based on how long it's taken. And that's kind of fair, you know? Like, if you released this game in 2014, it'd be much different than if you released it now. Now, you got a lot more baggage on your back. A lot more. And you kind of got to show out for it. White Canary, thank you for the sub. Appreciate you. 5 months. Much love to you. Hope you've been having a good fall. But yeah, look at this kind of stuff they've been doing to make it more presentable.
Yeah, probably, but I think their solar mass calculations are wrong, though.
Well, this is ridiculous.
How so?
We are now able to adjust our shot composition to final cameras thanks to recently crafted space vistas and level art being content complete now.
It'd be nice to know how much of a shitstorm we're flying into.
More like a hellstorm, Blue. One you ain't gonna fly out of.
Shut up.
Now, I hadn't seen another ship that wasn't trying to kill me in days, let alone a hauler, let alone a Jean. So you can imagine my surprise
Detailed lighting passes can be done on hero sequences so we can show our cast and convey their emotions in the best light possible. And we're making sure our cinematics are triggering as fluid as we can craft them so they form a coherent concerto with the rest of the player's narrative experience.
Mr. Wexler, this is Lieutenant Commander Colton.
Oh, Commander, hey.
Just keep in mind, Wing Commander was not written by the same people who are writing this.
Julian Wexler, I'm the field manager of this little operation. Welcome aboard the Archon. What brings the Navy to this little corner of the universe?
We got you flying with Lieutenant Commander Colton. He's one of our best.
As others will share, this is the most rewarding chapter of development, which allows us to truly experience the visceral and oftentimes emotional moments that our narrative provides.
How did you handle it after Vega?
I'm not sure I handled anything.
Dude, this looks stupid good.
It helps
in terms of graphics.
This is supposed to hurt.
I've never been good at dealing with problems I can't fix.
Well, this is one that you don't have to do alone.
That's good to know.
Like, they've proven that they can make a very good looking game. All we need is good writing. We know we have good actors. We know we have good graphics. And I'm not going to say this game has the best FPS experience. I'm not even going to go as far as to say it has the best space fighting experience because I don't play space fighting games. But the gameplay, I find the gameplay to be pretty fun. And I take that as gameplay that is kind of held back by how bad Star Citizen servers are. That's I think that makes a big difference to how the game plays. But there are good components when it comes to them using the multi-tool, when it comes to making puzzles, when it comes to shooting. As long as it doesn't suffer from repetitive gameplay and from bad space flight experience for the average user, I think if the gameplay is average, the writing is really good, and the graphics are really good, this will succeed at what it's trying to do, which is be a cinematic experience. That being said, I hope the gameplay is very good. I really do, because that would, I mean, if the gameplay was also very good on top of all of this, this could be one of the best games to release in the year, if not in this generation, this console generation. But I don't think it's going to reach that level. They've done nothing to prove that it's going to be one of the greatest games to ever release. That's setting your expectations incredibly high. I think that they are going to benefit from what they are good at, and I hope that they are going to be able to fill in the gaps in the stuff that they haven't necessarily proven out when it comes to Star Citizen. That's my honest take. I do hope that they have good gameplay, though. Is SC gameplay good? There is our answer. That's a stupid answer. That's a really fucking stupid answer because Star Citizen is clearly in a different place than Squadron 42. And that's something that we talked about earlier during this stream. It's not, they're not developing these games the same way. Like, they're on the same game engine, and that's about it. Star Citizen is hampered by lag, by desync. You can't even have a proper FPS match with people without, like, your gun jamming and not working, or your gun not reloading, or NPCs falling through the walls and the floors. Like, the comparison that we can make to Squadron and Star Citizen doesn't really matter until we see the demo next week. That's why I think this is such an important time for them, because that's their chance to prove that Squadron 42's gameplay is actually good, and the development it's been going on behind closed doors has been worth it compared to what Star Citizen's going on. Not sure anyone is thinking it'll be the best game ever. What you expected back in 2012 was just another Wing Commander, no more or less. That's just what you're hoping for. How did Wing Commander rate? How did it do? What is that? 8 out of 10. This is only one thing that has it rated here. Metacritic, it's got a 70%. I mean, if this game hit 70%, I think that'd be a little disappointing. I think they should be aiming for an 80 minimum. But Wing Commander sold like 3 to 5 million copies. And that was during a time when the PC... Did this come out on it? That came out on Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and PC stuff. That was during a time when the market was a lot smaller. I think they need to make sure that Star Citizen's in a good place for this to launch too. So they've got a lot of pressure on them. You're seeing console input keys in the PTU. This really concerns you. When you sit, it gives you hints to get up. Sometimes says LB plus B. The game's supported gamepads for a while. It's been one of their goals all the way from day one. Don't be surprised by the fact that it's supporting gamepads. It's just been part of that's gamepads in this game are as old as the concept of engineering. I sound like your old man. Your old man's got a nice voice. Sorry, I don't. That's cringy. I don't like it. I don't like it. Take that one away. Cut that out. You're playing through the Wing Commander game again. Been a long time. Wing Commander 1 is rough but classic. You're on 3 now. It was a really huge deal when it came out. I think so will Squadron 42 be, to be honest. Maybe not for the same reasons, but there aren't that many games that come out like this anymore. It was groundbreaking when it came out because there was nothing else like it at that time. What made it different? Going to either cause the popularity of SC to explode or tank. You had a gamepad on console before you owned, or on PC before you owned a console. I mean, gamepad, you can go... let's go back to the Star Citizen Kickstarter. This is one I try to remind people of a lot. 2013, April 6th, Kickstarter starts, and you scroll all the way down, and it says, joystick, gamepad, mouse, keyboard are all supported. We've all got our preferences, so why be forced to choose? This is not about going to console. This is about the original promise that they wanted to make this controller as agnostic, that they wanted to support people and give folks the ability to play the game how they wanted. Doesn't mean that they all need to be equal. They should not sacrifice the ability for a joystick to give you the experience a joystick is made for, but they do need to support the gamepad as well. Star Citizen will not go to console. At the very least, it will not definitely go to console. Look at how freaking difficult it is for them to just get it to work on a PC. Star Citizen going to console means that they would have to work so much more on their game engine, on the networking side of things, on the ability to work with the publishers to get the game updated all the time for console. Oh my god. Yeah, Squadron 42? Sure. But not Star Citizen. You don't have a phone controller option? I control it with my voice, man. Only have a couple months under your belt. Is now a bad time to invest in a ship, or is it wise to wait until after CitizenCon? Are you absolutely sure you want to buy a ship? Because my answer is generally no. No time is the best time to invest in a ship. It's always better to just wait until it's in game. But if you really, really, really want to get a ship, I would wait till IAE. If you want to buy a game package, is it for an actual game or a demo? The website's extremely confusing. When you go to the website, if you want to get a game package for Star Citizen, just come here, hit Star Citizen, and you will get the full game. No matter which option you pick, once you are in this part of the website, you will get Star Citizen. And wow, they are... Nah, I don't like this. They should always have a $45 option here. Yeah, this is this is a better deal. a Cutter for $48 is better than an Aurora for $45, but either of these will get you the full Star Citizen game forever. Star Citizen is not a complete game, no. Star Citizen is a game in development. I believe it says that. Maybe not. It just says early access. They should be better about it. I believe they should be so much more better about it. Let's see if you go here. What does it say? Begin your adventure. Yeah, see, this does not tell you anywhere that it is a game in development. About the game. How about here? No. It's horrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to deal with the website. It is not a completed game. Does it now say it's an alpha when you launch the game? I think so. I think whenever you get into the launcher, it says something about it. Let's see. Don't actually launch me in. Yeah. Star Citizen is presently available in an early access alpha version in a state of active development. It says early access alpha version here during this early access alpha version of development. Blah, 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 blah. So they do when you launch the game, but it should say it on the website too, on the front page. Anyways, enough about Squadron 42. Let's move on to base building. Or I'm sorry, crafting your home. It is somewhere on the website, but it should be on the front page. That's the big one. So day 2 is called the Destiny You Forge. The first one is called the Universe We Create. This is clearly more about the kind of features that will make the PU, and this is more about kind of the actual gameplay stuff, I guess, the Destiny You Forge. Clearly they're focusing a heavy amount of this on base building and what the game is actually going to be. Base building has been kind of hinted at for a long time, but it wasn't really confirmed until last year. And we can go give it a big old look. The big trailer that got everybody super, super freaking excited when it came out. Where is that?
Massive changes are coming to the
Oy, I always make this mistake. People are cheering because it said land claim in the bottom left, and that was a big giveaway. Okay, so we got this. And then we also got, I don't know if this will come up very easily. Homesteading CIG announcement. It's a very weird drop or teaser for base building in a 324 video. So they were like talking about 324, which made sense, and then they just randomly were like, and base building also.
Your persistent hangar is now your first customizable home in the verse. Organize your cargo. Keep your gear close. And jump straight into the fray. Your own space means quicker access to the things you need. And Alpha 324 is just the beginning of establishing your home. Stay tuned for more at CitizenCon this year. Until then, get ready for Alpha 324. It's time to shape your own adventure.
Okay, so you probably heard that there. Literally said stay tuned for CitizenCon. And now with this release of the schedule, base building is a pretty big deal at this show. And I think it's going to be a big part of this game, not just because of the base building, but also the other part they mentioned here, which is the crafting. In terms of crafting, not only do we get everything in the game being able to be made from a set of ingredients, right? A recipe that defines what everything's made out of, but you're also going to get physicalized recipes, which means these are objects that can be traded. They can be found as loot. They can be bought. They can be sold. They can be probably researched through science gameplay. That's speculation. But it's going to be probably quite a bit like Eve in the way that Eve has certain recipes that you can craft and build and trade and find and steal and all that kind of stuff. And this is going to be a huge part of, I think, what drives the economy.
To be off grid and be completely self-sufficient. So with that, with your prep and everything like that, we've got blueprints. So the recipes, everything in the game is fabricated from a blueprint. Players acquire blueprints via reputation rewards, missions, or rare NPCs. With any blueprint, you can actually do research on it and then create different variations. With materials, ranging from the common to ultra rare, you might find them at the local shop or have to travel around the universe to collect them. Unrefined, refined, simple materials, or even complex components will all go into the fabrication. With it,
so somebody had mentioned that player bases will get nuked easily. This is also something that they're working on in terms of security. So you can make a base in somewhere like Stanton. If you're not going to get bombed, you're protected by the UEE. It'll be literally impossible for you to lose your base. Not even the game won't allow it. It will make up reasons for security to stop anything from happening to your base because they need to provide gameplay for people who don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, as opposed to maybe people who want to be in more risky areas, who can get better resources, who can be more advantageous with their location. Those people will be a little bit more at risk.
Then you got location, location, location. First area is high security, so you must purchase the land.
Okay, logical perspective. Are you telling me you just spent a few hours on the website and then you came in and asked me simple questions about the website you already knew the name for, you already knew the answer for? Like, you weren't actually asking to get answers. Were you just asking to kind of like make a point? Because I can guarantee you everybody who's in the chat right now on this stream has heard the things that you are saying. This game has been in headlines. The company has been attempted to be taken to court. The things that you're saying have been wanted to be done and they didn't happen. It's a game in development. Is it perfect? No. Is it? Have they been truthful with a lot of things? No. They've done some pretty not great things. Where else are people supposed to find a good space game? Yeah, it's a troll. Toes. I'm engaging with him so that you guys don't have to, so we could put this to rest. You spent hours on the website, and then you came into the chat to ask questions that you already knew the answers to. You're not going to inform anybody of anything else. Everything that people want to know about this will get the information they need, they can ask. Everybody else, just leave him be. Let him go. Let him have his fun.
The base is actually invulnerable because the planetary shield tech. A security will show up to protect it as well. You pay for the privilege, you're taxed. So at this point, you won't have the best resources available. You won't have access to the best resources available on the planet. If you don't pay your taxes, the shields will go away after a period of time, and the base will become derelict and will collapse. But this is low risk, low reward. Then you've got low security. So again, you must purchase the land. It's owned by an independent corp, gang, or faction. Again, you don't have access to all the best resources on the planet. The base is vulnerable. AI NPCs will show up and protect the base if it's attacked. The protection will escalate over time. Player can also build defenses to help mitigate this as well. And then it's medium reward, medium risk. Then you've got lawless. So this is no protection other than what you build. There's shields, anti-air. Players can disable the shields by getting close to them and destroying them. High risk, high reward. Since there's no taxes, no protection fees, you get a high return on the resources that you collect. Now, there's some cross-shard and server meshing considerations that will kind of adjust this design in the future, but we'll get into that later once we're really building it.
So that's, I think, where we are at. They're actually really building it. This year, when they get into this panel, rather than just this kind of high-level talk they've had about the design, I think we're going to see some actual demonstrations of this stuff. We're going to see the components that come that are needed for base building to actually happen or crafting to actually happen. I don't think it'll be really deep. They just started development on this in Q1 of this year. I think this is going to be like how salvage was when it was first introduced, like some bare bones stuff. It's not end games base building that we're about to see. This is probably going to be like build a little bit of stuff here and there. Maybe it's like a little bedroom for yourself. Build yourself a bed. Sleep out in the forest. Do some camping. Watch out for copions. Like, this isn't going to be a very in-depth kind of thing, but I think that they're going to spend a lot of effort on selling this as an important aspect of the game as it moves forward, and it's why it's also pretty close to the Star Citizen 1.0 talk. I think we will see some of this kind of stuff, the small-scale stuff.
So from here, you've got the tools. So this is what we would consider a surveyor. With this, we want to actually cater to everybody's playstyle, whether you're solo or in an org. With this, you got different buildings that you can produce.
I wouldn't say Stanton is high security, but I do believe that Stanton will be a place where you can't just lose a base. Maybe I'm wrong about that. We'll see.
From small, medium to large to XL or XL. So with the surveyor tool, you can only build the small buildings. With a vehicle, you can build small and medium-sized buildings. With the Galaxy,
I think they might also expand on this, the Galaxy, a little bit. It's about time to start talking about this ship.
You can build small to large structures. And then obviously with the Pioneer, Pioneer can do it all. And it still works as a mobile base. And we'll talk about some of the more expanded features that we're adding to it in later on. So, and then it's also, we're exploring what can be done in space, not just on the planet. So from here...
That's probably unnecessary to say. And then, yeah, the Pioneer is, we'll talk about that for the next panel.
So with the overhead view of the land, you can actually place down buildings exactly where you want. You can see the resources beneath the surface, and then you can also place multiple buildings before you actually build. So you can see how it will all come together. You'll see the resources that are needed for it, and then you can also switch back and forth between different modes, which are showing off the resource network and how you link basically power generators to consumers. And then the player can move or deconstruct existing buildings right now with no charge. Fabrication. So when you basically build these buildings, they don't come with any furnishings. And if you didn't bring any with you, then you want to build a fabricator. So depending on what you want to build, there's different
furnishings
sizes of them that support buildings.
Money. That's a Mr. Krabs moment right there. This is where monetization could really
and even ships
kick in for this game. And to be honest, I'd much rather have people buying furniture and decorations for their homes and habs and even apartments themselves than chips. Makes more sense.
So like base building mode, you need blueprints, resources to craft what you want. Everything fabricated is produced from it produces a physicalized entity. Stats and quality will depend on the quality of the materials actually used. Once you've done that and you've built your decorations, now you can actually fill the room the way that you want to fill it. So furnishings can be purchased at different locations, or they can actually be fabricated. You can do that via first person or in a dedicated mode in the surveyor's tool. With that, you've got different types of buildings. So you've got utility style, which would be garages, freight elevators, landing pads, storefronts. And then you've got extractors. So with extractors, we want to make sure that nothing in regards to resource gathering is fully automated.
So this is the part I feel like we wouldn't really see this year. I think they'll talk about it, but in terms of being gameplay, I think this is a little bit further off. But now that we get to this part, I wouldn't be surprised if they start to talk about resource deposits inside of planet surfaces in that first panel. That's all about the planet tech stuff, because that is an underlying part of base building. Base building is going to be heavily based on where are resources on the planet that you're looking for, and where do you want to build. And I think Todd even mentions that here somewhere.
You don't own the land. The smallest area, it'll automatically go to base building mode. So with the overhead view of the land, you can actually place down buildings exactly where you want. You can see the resources beneath.
Yeah, you can see the resources beneath the surface. So I think that's something that they need to figure out for the planet tech in order for this to all make much sense. And at this stage in the development of base building, maybe they don't need to necessarily have that working in the engine, but they do need to have an idea of how that will work and how the planets will create those resources.
There's landing pads, storefronts, and then you've got extractors. So with extractors, we want to make sure that nothing in regards to resource gathering is fully automated. A level of player engagement is always needed. So as Nick talked about before, there are different types of commodities, radioactive, perishable, etc. What you'll be doing is pulling out full containers. Then from there, it'll be repairing, or there's wear and tear associated with it, or even misfires like you saw in Thorsten. Different resources.
All right. Most important part of this talk, though, is the defenses, which they really don't spend much time talking about.
To produce new items. And then you've got defense. So anti-air, anti-personnel, and then shield generators.
That's literally it. That's all he says. This is a very important part that I think they probably need to go into during the panel, is the defenses, specifically the security levels. Answering the question, is Stanton as a mid-security system going to be a place where you can get high-level protection? I don't think they're going to just limit it based on system. I think they'll limit it based on how close you are to UEE centers too. So like maybe on a planet you'll be okay, but not on a moon in Stanton. I don't really know. Oh my God, Citizen John is in the chat. Wowzers. Hello, friend. How have you been? Yeah, security in this game overall seems pretty important, and we'll talk about that here too, because if they do want to get rid of armistice zones, there's going to have to be some literally unkillable security solutions that will come and just mess you up whenever you do anything wrong. All right, Captains of Industry. This is kind of an extension of base building. Uncover the ships and ground vehicles that will serve as your primary tools for base building in the verse, revisit a classic, and more. So this is their ship talk. We go back to our old schedule of last year, and they've got their ship talk here. This is going to be... It'll be interesting. I don't think it'll be as interesting for a lot of people as the other ones. There will be some gameplay talk in this, I believe. I think... So, uncover the ships and ground vehicles that will serve as your primary tools for base building. We kind of just saw that here. We're looking at whatever deploys these, right? Which is this thing in the background here, or something like it. So this vehicle looks like it deploys drones that can help with base building. And you got this little thing here, which maybe is a small fabricator. Got the Galaxy, which is something they might talk about. And then the old classic could just be the Pioneer. They said revisit an old classic. So a ship we already know about. These are captains of industry. And the base building is a very big tell on where they're going with this. But they could also just be like, hey, we're going to throw something random in there. Captains of industry could also be the Expanse. Could be the Odyssey. Could be a lot of different things that are industrial focused, but I do think there's a chance that it's the Pioneer. I don't know if the Galaxy counts as a classic. It's not super old, but I do think that they'll touch back on the Galaxy as it is a tool for base building. The Merchantman. Do we know what benefits larger base building ships will bring compared to smaller ones? Probably just a higher level of production. The ability to build larger things. You'd love if it's the Expanse. You want to be the refining guy for a mining crew. I hope they at least talk about some of that stuff. They have the chance to talk about other ships they want to update here, because they do say and more. So they could go through their base building ships and their industrial stuff, and then they could also give us some updates on ships that maybe we haven't thought about in a little while. If for whatever reason base building is what's bringing in drone gameplay and introducing these droney boys floating in the airs, maybe we'll see other drone ships talked about. Possibly the Vulcan, maybe the Apollo. We don't really know how much drones have been holding back certain ships and technologies they want to do, but there's always a chance that it could be more than just that. Yeah, only 45 minutes though. I mean, I guess it's an hour and 15. We don't know how much time is in between each panel, and sometimes they do run over. But like you can see here, where is it here? Like Social Universe has an hour and 45 minutes before the next panel starts. Compared to this has an hour and 15 minutes before the next panel starts. This one has lunch mixed in, but it's 2 hours before the next panel starts. So we don't know exactly where the breaks are, how much there is in between each panel. But it does seem like they're including some time after, at the end of the day, to walk around, and at the beginning of the day. Venue opens at 9, panel starts at 11. That's kind of similar to what was going on last year. Place opened at 9, panel started at 11. Last panel was at 4, venue closed at 7. So they do include some time here and there to talk and walk around and stuff. This one's ending an hour later in terms of panel, or at least starting an hour later, but ending 2 hours later than it did last year. So this could be a longer panel. They could be including more time to walk around. We don't really know. They also had an older schedule did say that the main event ended at 7:30 p.m. So technically this could be a 2-hour panel, and then you get an hour and a half to walk around. But they have removed that old schedule from the page, so you can't really confirm that anymore. So we're not entirely sure. Okay. Last panel. The Star's My Destination. Star Citizen 1.0. This is by far the most consequential panel we will see at all of Star Citizen or CitizenCon. And it's a good thing they put it last. I saw some people saying that it should be first, but I think this should be last. This is going to be the one that needs to be digested the most. This is going to be the one that probably has like the biggest consequence to the game and to what people think of the game, where they can put their announcements. God, I hope they don't say any dates. Oh my God, please, Lord, if there's one thing, please, God, no dates, no timelines. The only thing we should hear a date for is Squadron 42. I swear to God, if they say anything that has to do with setting expectations on timeline, I am going to lose it. I'm going to flip my table. The stream's going to cut off. I'm going to smash this computer and throw Pico across the room and jump out the freaking window. Please, God, don't say anything about 12 months or 18 months or 24 months. I'm already triggered just thinking about it. Fully and honestly, I am triggered. I'm sweating. my heart rate is up. No, I don't promise. I never promise. Promises are for dead men. Everything you saw this weekend will happen within 12 months. See, that's my problem with it, dude. That is my absolute problem with it, is it doesn't matter what they say. I've been over it so many times that last year what he said has been taken and like not taken in its entirety. And that's what happens. It doesn't matter if you say almost, maybe, we plan on, we hope to, possibly, this timeline, that timeline, whatever comes out of your mouth first is what people are going to hear. That's what they're going to judge, and that's what everything is going to be based on. And I freaking hope they don't do that this year. I really hope so. Not only did he say 12 months or so, he said within next year. He said throughout next year. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And that part gets completely washed over. Because I don't know why, but it does. Like we still have, and I'm not in any way trying to say that they will meet their goals of what they even proposed might happen last year. And I don't want to make that's not a thing. They're not going to meet those goals. They're going to fall short. But their goals were set out to be by the end of this year, not within 12 months of CitizenCon. And because he said 12 months of CitizenCon once, the other 2 times he mentioned by the end of the next year, it was game over. My camera's not there. Thank you, Anno, for letting me know. They do it every year. They do. And he literally, I can go back to CitizenCon 2018. And this dude will literally be like, I'm not going to say any dates because I know you guys don't like it with dates. I know you don't like when I say dates, so I'm not going to say any dates. Ha, 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 ha. And then he gives dates.
Server meshing. That's our mark.
Where is it? Where the heck
number
do you say?
Because of bound culling and Paul is server meshing. So when we get server meshing, that is, we think, the last piece of the puzzle to have the full game experience. And this is our ability to go, right now we have about 50 players on a server. We probably will be able to increase that number because of bound culling and stuff, but it's still going to cap out at a certain level. With server meshing, we'll be able to get to thousands of players playing concurrently in the same locations, star systems. They're not all going to be able to have 1,000 people dogpiling together. They won't be able to render it all at the same time, but you certainly will be able to have 1,000 people on the planet of Hurston.
Say it, I dare you.
So the server meshing is the last key piece because that will allow us to have a truly massively populated universe of players as well as AI, and having servers that dynamically scale up and down to take care of the processing needs of that. And so from our standpoint, in terms of what we would think is the experience when you guys can sit in and play the game day after day and not worry about it getting wiped, not worrying about, I'm going to do something for a day or two and there's no point because they're going to reset the system. When we get to full persistence and server meshing, that's our marker.
That's also why people are so excited for server meshing, because this is what they said 6 years ago, and we're on the cusp of that. We're testing server meshing finally. So I don't think obviously they're trying not to do wipes and stuff anymore, but there's still plenty of gameplay to happen. But I do think that in terms of the back end performance and the back end of the game and how it's been constructed overall, having server meshing in the game does make a bit of a difference in how it's perceived.
And sure, after that, we've got planets to do and star systems, and we're going to have continual feature development. But this is an online live game, and so for us, we don't have a particular viewpoint in terms of, that's it, this is where we finish it, and we don't do any more work. It's literally we kind of view, as long as you guys want to live in this universe, every 3 months, we're giving you a build, and here you are, and here's a bit more, and here's a bit more, and here's a bit more. And when we get to the full persistence and server meshing, I think at that point, that's when we're not going to be resetting the servers. It's when it will be an ongoing, living, breathing game.
So be ready for a reset with 4.0.
And
here, Chris, what are you gonna say?
That I'm not going to give you a date.
And everybody laughs. Oh, Chris! Oh God, Chris, you're so funny.
But
you would never give
you can
dates.
watch on our.
And then he gives dates. Jump forward 7 years. And he's like, oh, but next year, let me tell you. And we can, honestly, I'm not even going to go back to what he said in that last year because I've got it all summarized here. Chris Roberts, Space Tomato. Let's see if that pops up. It does not. There it is. Listen to this. Listen to him giving freaking dates.
A lot of what you're going to see is going to be coming into Star Citizen over the next 12 months. Definitely.
See, a lot of what you saw doesn't matter if you said that, sir.
Next year, a lot of what you'll be seeing will be coming in.
He again says a lot of what you'll be seeing doesn't matter.
And it's going to make a dramatically different experience in Star Citizen.
And then we jump forward. Everybody on like a 12-month. Kind of tried to walk back and things as to the whole year. Listen here.
So everything that we've been showing you here at CitizenCon is our intention. Not making 100% promise, just so everyone.
It doesn't matter if you say that. It does not.
Remembers that. To get them into Star Citizen through next year. So.
And again, not 12 months through next year.
So we're not. It's not going to be gated on having to be after Squadron 42.
He actually did it twice too, and he does. He does it twice.
We're planning over the next, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 of next year. Hopefully, everything that we've shown you, you will have in your hands playing inside Star.
That was just a stupid thing to say, because they showed us base building and Maelstrom, and we knew that those things wouldn't be in our hands. But it gets completely missed all of the details of what he says. And so there's just no point at all to say anything at all that has to do with dates or setting expectations. And that's the number one thing I want from this panel. Just no dates. Please. Nothing. That's all. Oh my God. Anyways, so PvP, PvE, non-combat, what type of game is Star Citizen? If you want answers, join us as we outline a high-level overview of Star Citizen 1.0 and what our intentions are for our epic shared universe. This is very important. You just want to promise to hold weight. A good tip for that is to not take things as promises unless they say it's a promise. I just like when he literally says I'm not going to promise this, assume it means he's not promising. That's the best thing. When he does say I promise, hold his head to the guillotine. But if they're not promising, then it's just going to be disappointment because they're not going to hit it. Like it's not going to happen. Just never trust it. So Star Citizen 1.0 is pretty important because there's a lot of things in this game that are not like clearly communicated. From how death is supposed to work in this game to what the end goal is for a lot of these game systems to like what are the different professions this game will have. You know, it's hard to even name everything that's going to be a way to make money. Some people don't even know that like data running is part of the plans for this game. There's just a lot of stuff that has been talked about with this game, has been shared. I mean, it's been freaking 10 years, right? Like there's a lot of things that have been, you know, made to sound like part of Star Citizen that have just been lost in the wind. Sometimes they show back up and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot they were going to do that. Like, what the heck is science gameplay? You know? Are they going to talk about that next week? I don't know. But if you look at the Endeavor, let's see if we've got a... Do they have a... Do they have a design document here? Yeah, design notes. The Endeavor. We got all kinds of modules for this ship, right? Organics module allows for various forms of plant life to be grown in a tightly controlled environment and harvested for profit. So farming on a spaceship is supposed to be a thing. Did you know that? Some of us certainly did. The Discovery module. Discovery module is geared towards the aspiring astronomer. It contains a powerful 16-meter telescope mounted on a rotatable base that is capable of scanning the heavens in the infrared, visible, and gamma spectra, as well as dual ejection ports for an array of long-range probes. Now, we've heard some of this talked about over the years, but, like, how much can we trust that this is still accurate? This is from 2015. There's just so many things like this that they need to say, not just to re-emphasize to people who have been around a long time that this is still the plan, but also to share with people who have signed on over the last several years that, hey, this is the game you're signing up for. We want you to know this so that you don't get very pissed off when we introduce survival mechanics or base building mechanics or death mechanics or cargo interaction. You know how many people have been pissed about cargo interaction being added when that was like a really obvious thing to a lot of people? How about the medical system? How does respawning work? What about death of a spaceman? All of these things are like really important questions that they need to answer for Star Citizen 1.0. And I don't think they're going to dive into detail about all the things I'm talking about. But I think they need to lay out the general idea in a concise video that can at the very least be summarized into like 20 to 30 minutes so that people can get an actual idea of what they're signing up for, what they're putting money into, what they're buying ships for that they might not actually want in the future, because those ships will change from what they think they are. It also adds a lot of good context for the things that we're spending money on or getting pissed off about when they do change things. Like when they make changes to ships that don't make sense to us, at least we can look at their idea for 1.0 and be like, okay, maybe it makes sense that they would want to do this. Because then the game is going to change to accommodate that. They could just give everyone who bought the Endeavor for cash a cash refund and put it on the shelf. Yeah, I mean, or just like make it the 1.0 release ship. Who will be presenting the redacted panel? Probably Chris and Rich, I would assume. They need to put in the most complicated version of it and make it more easy over time. People don't like it when comfort is taken away. Cargo interaction sucks because ships like the Carrack, others have issues actually getting the cargo into and out of the ship by hand. That's fair, but at the same time, a Star Citizen 1.0 discussion should be them coming out and saying, hey, we know that the ship that you like sucks right now, but it is the way it is because we haven't gotten to change it for what the game is going to be. That would, I think, make a lot of people feel better about those things, that they at least know that the ship they bought is still going to work the way they want it to. Some people don't realize the game is still in development. Believe it or not, people actually think that the game just has like released and is pretty much good to go, and it just sucks. The Corsair chin gun change would make sense if the turret-looking assembly they're mounted on actually worked like a turret. I agree with you there. They have such a huge backlog of ships that need to be brought up to gold or put into the game. Yeah, they do. You earn for more info on radar and scanning. Yeah, deep space scanning would be good. Deep space probing is probably something they'll talk about. There's only one video they've ever talked about that. Long distance probing, I believe. This is like exploration. I made a video about this, but really there's been nothing since then.
Long
I made that video and I was so excited. Listen to this.
Distance probing.
So let's start us off. What is long-distance probing?
Well, long-distance probing is basically a system that we want to introduce where players have a ship somewhere in space and they can send out like probes and place them anywhere in the same system. And those probes will ping and reveal basically objects that are of interest there or anything that might be there. And those objects could be like mining places, derelict stations, ships, anything that we could imagine that you could find there and we could spawn. And so you find something, then what you have to do there is triangulate. So you have to bring in the probes into position. So you get the more precise signal on that. And once the signal strength is enough, you can either decide to generate a quantum beacon that you can basically jump to. You could store that information and sell it to other players. Or what we aim to have there is an analysis gameplay where you basically have a signature, a unique signature of what you found there, and then you compare it on your ship. So basically the drones, the probe sends back the signature and use it on your PC on the ship, and you compare the signature with everything that you either bought or you collected yourself in the library. And then you get an idea, okay, this might be in Gladius, this could be in a mining field. And then you can still decide to, okay, I jump there and I look at it, or the risk is too high, I don't jump there. So that's the...
You don't need a lot of star systems for this. This is literally, you could do this in Stanton right now. Like, when you drop out of quantum travel in the Air and Halo belt, there are plenty of places where you could go and probe and find a good collection of mineable asteroids. Like, this wouldn't be difficult. In Pyro, they could do this with derelict space stations and asteroid bases. All we need are the points of interest. Space stations are huge, or star systems are huge, and this is meant to be on a inside the star system sort of basis. Yeah, it's a lot of like what Eve does, just like kind of how the recipes for their crafting system is also kind of like what Eve does.
Important here, what we're going to try to introduce here is that uncertainty.
Yeah, we need quantum boost.
You'll be able to see a graph of how it's like seeing the drive signature of a ship. You kind of know the EM, you know the IR, and you'll get the curve of how strong each part it is, and you might look at it and go like, this looks very similar to an Idris. And when you jump there, you might have a surprise that it's a lot of smaller ships or a fleet or something like this. Or it might look like a hauler that you might want to pirate. And you get there and, oh, no, it's actually an Idris with a lot of his stuff being turned off, waiting for prey to jump in. Because their signature, once they turn off some of the things on the ship, might look a lot smaller than what it actually is. So it opens up a lot of exploration for a lot of players. It also opens up a lot of options for traps and creating interesting scenarios where you're kind of going like, well, let's see what happens and who jumps for the bait here. So, and it's up to the players once they get the full analysis and to figure out what that thing is. They can jump, they cannot jump, they can sell the information, they can sell it as, oh, I found this very rich asteroid field, and when that person buys it, looks over the analysis.
The majority of SE is theorizing. Yeah.
Jump there. It's not an asteroid field. There's, I don't know, it's a booby trap. There's a turret on every rock there, and as soon as you jump in, it blows you up. Because the guy that did the analysis didn't go all the way to figure out everything and actually jump there, see himself.
Yeah, we need probes for this.
What is in that space.
So
yeah, what is important for us is definitely that it's a player skilled base. So the more data you collected, the more precise your predictions are. So the longer you have been doing that already, the more precise your data is, the higher the value is that you can ask for if you sell them.
And the risk reward goes both ways. Let's say you're scanning for something, it's not scanning, it's like probing for something, and you find a thing, and then you go like, oh, I want the last detail. I'm going to spend half an hour getting that. By the time you spend half an hour on it, it might be gone, because that might be a ship, might be a player, might be an NPC that just goes away. It's not going to wait there forever for you to get all the data about it. So it's up to you how much time you want to invest in that analysis part, or do you risk and jump, or do you risk for it to jump away? It's all up to the player.
Is this something you guys have been working on alongside? You know, USP has been working on scanning and radar and stuff like this. So is this work hand in hand? Is this something where you need them to finish before you can really get going?
It's a bit separate. It uses the same signatures that we are familiar with, EM, IR, cross section, but the system has to be different. We are talking about finding things over astronomical unit distances. We're not talking about 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers, which is where our radar kind of stops. And we're talking about, this is space telemetry. You're looking at the really large chunk of space and you get some data, you kind of think there's something there, then you bring your probes closer and closer, you get a clearer image, you get a closer location, closer, till you get that pinpoint precise location where you can jump, or you can continue analyzing and figuring out what that thing is before you risk.
Gotcha. So I know we're still relatively early days. I don't think this is even on the public roadmap yet, is it?
Nope.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure if it is, but so. Yeah, it is still early days.
Without being too prescriptive, what you said astronomical ranges. Are we thinking across the other end of the solar system? Or are we thinking into other solar systems? What are we?
So it's gonna be localized to the solar system, and even then you won't be able to just go like, yeah, do the entire solar system. You'll have to choose it. You'll look on the map and go like, well, there's been a lot of things happening here. I'm gonna send.
Yeah. So this is long distance exploration, and people are excited for it just because. This is a huge part of what people like about space. Finding things that aren't known by other people. In a game where data is a commodity and you could actually trade this kind of info for money, you could go out there, find a resource by probing it, and sell that data for money. I think that's a pretty cool idea. But that's the kind of thing that, we would want to see in a panel like this. That refining gameplay, the way that refining works, how Star Sim works, how the economy works, how a mineral will go from spawning in a cave to being mined by somebody, to being taken to a refinery, to being worked out in a factory into a material, to being sold in a store, and then finally how that mineral in the cave will replenish as well so that it then makes more minerals. How does that replenishment work? Does it happen over time? Does it happen immediately? Does it move around? All of those kinds of things, I think, maybe not all of those details, but definitely the general idea around those details and how the simulation works is the kind of stuff that I think should be very much known here. They've confirmed that player refining will not be anywhere near as slow as what happens in space stations, so you won't have to worry about that. I'm not going to look up the video for that, but this will be one of those times you gotta trust me on that. I do think that, let's see, there's a question earlier. They have shown ships flying through static and interference, not really being struck by lightning, but they've talked about being struck by electricity on monthly reports. Think it'll be like the day in the life of a player in 1.0? Maybe, yeah. Do I think that rep-based rewards will come in when 4.0 drops, like unlocking exclusive tattoos, hauling themed items, etc.? That would be nice, because that's something that they talked about last year, and we haven't really seen much about it. That's one of those things. Whoever gives you a javelin first wins 2 javelins. Oh, wow. We've heard nothing about the quantum travel rework since CitizenCon. Still hoping that that's a Shadow 4.0 drop, that they will give us the quantum travel rework when we get 4.0. But it's looking a little less likely. We'll see. What kind of system would they use to have players sell that data? Would it be like EFT where they have a flea market? Would it be another panel in the Mobiglass? I think you'll have local markets. You go to a space station and you can probably sell data to that station. Because if we go back to last year's CitizenCon, and we get to the point where he says that you're going to be downloading maps.
Cycle the floor that the download it to our if we can actually take this on the go. So let's download it to our data bank. As you'll notice, we now have the representation of the environment in the upper left corner of our visor. Point kiosk available. You may encounter rundown settlements, or you might come across a cave that no one else has ever set foot on before. What will happen in this instance is your radar will incrementally update your map, and it will incrementally reveal your environment and just save that to your data bank. So you kind of reveal it incrementally. So this map, what we see in the upper left corner of our visor, is not really just a map. What it really is actually data. It's our radar. And we can see contacts on our radar as we scan. And it's basically what we have available in stored in our data bank. So because we have the location data saved to our data bank, we can obviously access that via our mobiGlas. So let's go ahead and pull it up in our mobiGlas.
So the idea being, I believe that when it comes to local maps, maps for planets, for caves, for points of interest, you will be able to go and scan that stuff and sell it to an NPC or an AI system at a space station, get some money for it, just like you would in No Man's Sky, go on your way. And then the people who come to that station would be in the position that they just showed here on the panel. They would need to download that map to then get the information to know how to navigate that cave or that planet or that place. Over time, the resources and things in those places could change locations, which would call for more people to need to scan and get that information and keep those maps updated. That builds a constantly changing game loop of exploration and data running. I don't know if that's how it will work. That's how I would imagine it works. That's what I hope they might explain here in 1.0. That's just another one of those things. But overall, I'm just really hopeful that we get a very solid idea of what Star Citizen is actually going to be in this panel, and they ended off by just confirming that this is what the game is. Don't be surprised when we make these changes or when these things come in, and then don't give any dates, please. After that, the venue closes a little bit later, after you can walk around and do stuff, and then Atmo Esports has their event, which is, it's pretty big. It's on the official schedule, so they're doing a lot to coordinate with CIG to make this happen. They've got their own venue. It's going to be a pretty big deal. They do an event, it seems like now every year, and they're doing a lot of good stuff with it. I'm really proud of those guys. The last thing to look at for this event is the map. We can also see that there is an addition to the map here. I believe, yeah, sim pits. So there's a couple sim pits down here. It only has 2, so I'm not sure how big this area will really be. I find that these maps never really give me a good idea of the scale. But this could be where a Squadron 42 demo might show up. No doubt they will give us a Squadron 42 demo to look at, but maybe like how people could play Pyro last year, they will let people try out Squadron here. Maybe that same Squadron demo they will release for people to try out online. Don't really know what the plan is there, but that's really just, I think, a new addition to the map that they've put in. And besides that, that's really all we know so far. Issue 2 will be enough for 3,500 people. Yeah, no doubt. Plenty of room for people to stand around and watch. Yeah, I think it'll be more than 2. I just don't know, I don't know. There's no idea of how much they can fit in that area. Wouldn't it be funny if they were just sim pits for advertisement? They're like, this is what a sim pit looks like. Check it out. And that's it. What tropical beach biome did they show in the 890 Jump advert? Do you think we will see any such biomes soon? I believe that was the Ellis system they were showing. And I think that we will probably see it in the next... I don't know. I don't know when we'll see Ellis. Or whatever biome that was. I think we could see, you know, more beach-like locations in maybe Terra. But I don't know when they'll show up. As you watch these old videos, you see yourself as a lucky man. Your twins came 3 years ago and you were occupied elsewhere in the SC dry periods. Oh, don't worry. You've kind of gotten some dry periods yourself still. What about that Twitter tease? Think it was Nyx. I didn't take that as anything other than them trying to show off jump points. I don't think they'll really, I don't think there will be anything else there. Besides just, I think, like, they left it ambiguous. Just to say, hey, we've got jump points, and you can look forward to them coming into the game soon. What are the small ships displayed? I have no idea. No clue. Whatever is coming from the folks at the JR, gosh dang it, I forget the acronym. JR something. Bro had 2 kids and the game still isn't done. You would be surprised at how many kids have been had since the game hasn't been done. Whole bunch of kids. I got a new niece. JRDF, thank you. That's it. Yeah, so I don't, depends on whatever they're gonna have. Not a clue. Believe you're right and hope I'm wrong. Yeah, we'll see what else they're doing, but that's my outlook on the schedule we've gotten so far. Over the next week, I'm sure I'll come up with some more ideas. If you guys have your own ideas, feel free to join us on Discord. We have a little bingo game that you can get into that you can find here on the channel. And if you come in here, you'll see we've got a little card, and you can fill in each spot with what you think we'll see at CitizenCon, like specifics, things they might say or things they might do. And if you turn this in before the 18th, on the day of, if you fill it out first and you let us know by DMing Mrs. Tomato, you will get a M50 plus a copy of the game. A little giveaway we're doing on top of the other giveaways we're doing. We're giving away, I think we're doing 5 giveaways throughout the weekend of different stuff. So if you want a place to come and hang out for the CitizenCon stream, you can actually already find the RSVP. It's posted on the channel, so you can just hit that link, press the button. It'll let you know when we're going live that day. I'll be doing 12 hours on the first day, and probably some 6 hours on the second day, I think. And then for all people who are supporters, whether on Twitch or on YouTube or on Ko-fi or Patreon, I will be having a live podcast right after that to discuss what we saw at the CitizenCon. And then on that Tuesday, we will be having another podcast with 4 creators from around the community, a little Citizen Central podcast where we talk about, again, their thoughts on the event. And then at the end of that week, we're doing a lot of stuff that week, folks. It's the last week that we're spending here in Turkey, so we're going to be pretty busy, and then we'll be heading out after that and be away for a little bit. At the end of that week, I will be having Luke Stevens on the Launch Sequence podcast. If you know who that is, he does a lot of general game news and talking about other stuff around the industry. He's had a little bit of interest in Star Citizen over time, and we've talked a bit and thought it would be a good time for him to come on right after Star Citizen and talk about what we see at Squadron, what we see from Star Citizen itself and CitizenCon, and just kind of his thoughts from a more outside perspective. So we had somebody who covered Bethesda games on at the beginning of this year. It was a Lonely Vault Dweller. And now we're going to have Luke Stevens on. And I'll be having a couple more people on throughout November from outside the community to talk about that. What's the date of that? We'll be having that podcast on the 25th, and it will be releasing on the 28th. If you are a supporter, though, you can come and watch it live in the Discord. And I am in Turkey because my wife's from here, and we wanted to spend some time with her family, getting to know the country and the culture, and spending time with our niece. Is Luke streaming CitizenCon with the game? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe he is. I haven't talked to him about that. CitCon sneaked up on you this year. Last year it taught you to temper your expectations a bit, but still looking forward to seeing the event live stream. Yeah, go in with a grain of salt. Don't expect everything to be amazing or incredible or straightforward, but use it to get an idea of where things are headed. Yeah, do the RSVP. I think it might be down in the description of this very stream, but if it's not, if you just go to my live channel, the live tab on my YouTube channel, you'll find it there. I need a pizza emote. Nah, I really do, especially for you, Taryn. Thank you for the pizza biddies, dude. I'm sorry I missed those before. I appreciate you, man. And Osriel, and IR Smurf, and White Canary with the sub. Sorry, folks. I missed those. Y'all are great people. You're lovely, folks. I love this stream. I love this community. It's good fun, good chats. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining. And I hope you got to learn something, got a little bit of entertainment, enjoyed some of my maybe not so great, maybe kind of okay hot takes, rants, and just in general being a little bit crazy. Canary is a nerd who doesn't need to be thanked. Well, okay then. I take it back. This year's ship panel is about base building ships and vehicles. Could this mean base building will be released in 2025? It could mean the first version of it does come in 2025. Yes, yes. Hey, Piss Poor Pete. The streaming dog. Can we get a shout out for that man real quick? Thank you for hanging out, dude. Also, I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. Hope you all got a bunch of good thoughts from this one. Oh, look at that. Luke Stevens is online. I wonder if I should raid him. Inforunners have landed. Yeah, they're in Europe. Happy for them. I don't know what he's really looking at. I'm sure you guys want some more Star Citizen content. You promise to behave. All right, we'll throw him a raid. Give him a good time though. Let him know where you came from. Tell him toes. Give him a thanks, you know, for checking in on the podcast and being willing to talk about this. I'm sure it's going to be a good time. Dude seems to have pretty balanced takes. And hang out a little bit. Maybe you'll find some a new content creator you enjoy. I like his videos. That's why I'm having him on the podcast. I think he's got a good balanced, skeptical way of looking at things, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say about Star Citizen. So I'll drop you guys off with him over on Twitch. Go check him out. See if you like him. Then maybe you come and show up for the podcast. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed this. Have a good time. Let the stream know. Let the stream know that you're good people. Yeah, let's put on a good reputation for the Star Citizen community. And give your hellos and your toes and all that good jazz. Represent. Anyways, folks, I'll see you later. Have a good time. Eat something you love. Hug someone you love. Do something you love. Treat yourselves well. You're great people. And I'll catch you at the next one. Oh, and come join us tomorrow for some PTU fun with the org. It should be good times. Anyways, thanks again. You're great people. Much love. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.